Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened to Win? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. And of course, Tony is across the pond. They've got AEW TV from Cardiff. And this weekend, of course, it's the biggest show of the year. It's AEW at Wembley Stadium, like AEW WrestleMania 2, some craziness like that. I'm fired up for it. Going to have a house full of folks checking it out. Hope that you will be checking it out on pay-per-view as well. Tickets are on sale now. AEWTIX.com has you a link to see all of the AEW shows. But today here on WHW, we're going to be taking a look at the 30th anniversary of Spring Stampede. What an incredible show this was, and it went down all the way back in 1994. It has the most brutal match in WCW history. It's one of Tony's favorites, and this show even has a 4-star Bunkhouse Buck match. Yeah, I don't think those words have ever touched before. It's Rude's last major WCW match against Sting. Of course, we know he would suffer that career-ending injury later in Japan, but maybe the forgotten Flair-Steamboat on the major stage. Of course, if you ask these guys, they would say they did their best work in the late 70s, but everyone sort of hangs on that trilogy from 89, but they got the band back together 5 years later. It's a classic, an all-time WCW show here in front of what at the time was a record-setting Chicago crowd. Spring Stampede 1994 is on deck right here on What Happened When with Tony Schiavone.
What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm excited to have you back here. It feels like you've probably got some, rather tragic memories of this room.
Yeah, because I'm almost died in this room.
In that exact seat.
In this exact seat.
But we've taken precautions this time. First of all, Casio has mandated no ice for you. You have to drink from the can only, like the redneck you are.
Yeah.
And 2, Matt Kuhn is no longer welcome at the Conradison. So no one will be able to give commentary, poor commentary, but commentary on your death.
I appreciate Casio. Fuck Matt Kuhn. Just thought I'd throw those two things out there.
I don't think anybody else is, so why not?
Why not? Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Go.
Hey, but it's good to be back with you here, looking at you face to face. It's been a great week. It's been a great week that, MLW Fusion is on, and I watched some of it. You forced me to watch some of it.
Well, I feel like I should mention, it was appointment television at the Conradison. I had 2 great wrestling friends in town, Mr. Dick Bourne from the MidAtlanticGateway.com and Brian Rogers. Nobody knows him except the people at the post office, but still, they were here in town and they said, "Hey, do you have BN Sports?" And I'm like, "What the fuck are you saying?" And then they reminded me that you were debuting on BN Sports, so we recorded it, which was, we watched it live too, but I'm saying we recorded it because I knew you had told me, "Hey, I don't have it on my cable system."
Right, I don't.
But a lot of people can actually watch it on the app, and all the details on how you can catch that show if you'd like to see Tony call real wrestling again for the first time are available at MLW.TV.
Here's the big joke at the Schiavone house. Lois Rules is big time right wing.
Absolutely.
As right wing as you can get. And before it aired or during the week, I said, "Hey, sweetie, I just thought I'd let you know that BN Sports is part of Al Jazeera." She went, "What?" I said, "Yes. The Arabs are helping fund us."
I feel like that's missing in wrestling. No, it's not. WWE's Royal Rumble this Friday. Check it out. Fridays at noon. It's weird, Tony, because...
Yeah, it's weird you're a fucking sellout. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I am sold out. I sold out 2 shows over New Orleans weekend. I think...
You know what I'm saying.
Oh, that I'm getting checks?
Yes.
Aren't you getting checks? Wait, so you're saying I should get checks from Court Bauer instead of Vince McMahon? Help me understand.
You know what I'm saying.
No disrespect.
You're a network
to Court.
guy.
I am. By the way, #1 on the network. Have I told you that?
No, but I heard that, and it doesn't surprise me.
We got a call Friday night that said that the Wednesday downloads exceeded expectations for the whole week. Mm-hmm. Thursday more than doubled what Wednesday did, and Friday doubled what Thursday did, and we were #1 with a bullet. And this week we're hoping to take down the Jihad Royal Rumble. Not really. It's a joke.
Yeah, I know.
They're fine folks,
yes,
and we support everything they do on the WB network for only $9.99.
Right. You're talking about you support everything that WWE does.
Well, why wouldn't I?
I thought you were talking about supporting Saudi Arabia. I wasn't sure what you were talking about. We support everything that Saudi Arabia does. And that's why our gas prices are $2.69 a gallon.
Lois, can you calm down?
Okay.
We're going to talk about Spring Stampede 1994. We're veering off into a Jim Cornette podcast right there, if we're not careful.
Okay, well, yeah. No politics here.
No.
None.
No. If you want politics, find Lois Rules on Twitter. There's probably some on there.
Oof.
So let's talk about Spring Stampede 94. You know, when you found out we were covering this, what was the first thing that jumped to mind?
First thing that jumped to mind was we were getting ready to get into the Hulk Hogan era.
That's right.
And after going back and watching this, I realized that we even mentioned Hulk's name, but it was kind of like we mentioned his name, but we didn't oversell it. So from my memory, we were thinking Hulk Hogan was coming in, but the deal wasn't completed yet. So we just kind of mentioned it. You know, we mentioned that Ric Flair said that he would give Hulk Hogan ringside seats. And we mentioned Hulk Hogan another time. And that was it. We basically got to the match. But also, as I watched this match again, we had some great matches leading up to Flair and Steamboat. And I thought Flair and Steamboat kind of started out slowly, but boy, they really picked up steam there at the end of it.
Well, we're going to cover it here live with you. We'd like for you to watch along with us. Where can they watch along, Tony?
They can watch. I don't know. Why don't you tell them where they can watch
on the WWE Network? It's only $9.99, and when you get done watching something else to wrestle with Bruce Pritchard, be sure to check out Spring Stampede 1994. And Tony, we usually have a little help from Lois to count us down, but I think this week we should switch it up. What do you think?
Okay, we can switch it up. Let me say that if you want, the only way you can catch me on the network is to watch along here, since I'm not on the network.
Actually, you are on the network a lot. You sold your soul a few years ago, flew to Stamford, made sure not to do your hair that day, as usual, so they got authentic Tony, and you had a Georgia Bulldog sweater on, and you did lots of commentary about WCW back in the day. Do you recall this?
Right. It was the Monday Night Wars.
That's right.
That's right.
So you were telling me I sold out. Let's do more about that now.
Are we ready to roll yet, motherfucker?
We are.
Okay. Who's going to count down for us?
I think, well, I mean, in honor of you being on BN Sports, I think we should have Casio Kid count down in Spanish.
Okay.
So on the count of whatever 3 is in Spanish from Casio here, we'll make it happen.
Uno, dos, tres.
Play.
What's the Spanish word for play?
El Playo. Here we go, Tony. We're off to the race.
We're off to the races. Pretty good. Well, a very good look at the angles heading to this one with, of course, Brian Pillman and of course, Steve Regal. And there's our Nasty Boys. You're getting ready to see a pretty damn good hardcore match, really, the Chicago Street Fight that's coming up here in this. And when I looked at this, Conrad, I thought, and there's Muda, Austin, fuck, we were loaded with talent, weren't we?
Absolutely.
Holy
I mean, this
shit.
is, and here's the deal. It's no surprise. I mean, I know people like to bag on wrestling in 94, but it's worth mentioning. You guys had 12,200 folks here, and this went down on April 17th, 94 at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago. Around 9,000 of those were paying tickets for a $125,000 gate, which is actually the largest crowd and gate for WCW since Baltimore's Great American Bash in 1990 with Flair and Sting. This is a hell of a house for you guys.
And it's a victory for us because we were able to run the Rosemont Horizon.
Absolutely. It's worth mentioning that this had historically been a WWF building.
Right.
They even ran Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan here back in 1991, and this is the biggest house for either promotion in this building since that show. So Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, and now Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. Pretty good company.
Pretty good company. We're going to open the show with Mean Gene Okerlund and Jesse the Body Ventura. Two big mistakes here. Number one, I mean, Heenan was tremendous on commentary, and I was really stoked about working with him. But you got Mean Gene Okerlund, the greatest interviewer ever, by far, and he's not really going to interview anybody here. He's going to say something to Jesse, and Jesse's going to do the interviews in the show. He's going to bring in Jesse. A little inside thing here, Jesse is going to be talking about money, that I'm $1 million richer.
We know what that's about.
You know what? That's about WWE.
That's exactly right. Jesse Ventura had sued for royalties. He
Right.
felt like they had used his likeness.
Right.
And
He got $1 million.
There's lots of comments here from both sides, both Mean Gene and Jesse, that, hey, he's looking like $1 million.
Right. Right. And that's going to come up as soon as Aaron Neville sings our national anthem.
I'm going to need you to freestyle Aaron Neville here, because this is the most hilarious singing of the national anthem in the history of pay-per-view.
And the rocket's red glare, bunch of bombs in the air, gave proof through the night. Dun, 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 dun. No say tin 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 tin. Just all to the flag. Tin 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 tin. Motherfuckers. Tin tin. I'm gonna go straight to hell for this one. Dun, 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 dun. He's got bombs coming out of his pants. Oh, that's a dissolve. Okay, I thought he had bombs coming out of his pants.
Looking at him, it looks like he raided DDP's closet, does it not?
Yeah, well, look, I love this guy. I do. He was a big fan, and he could really, really sing. He really could.
He did a concert once,
Yeah.
years after the fact, wearing a Road Wild blue jean jacket.
Yes, he did.
How fucking random is that?
I know. Big fan of ours. This was like the second time he had sung the national anthem for us. The first time we were in New Orleans, and he just showed up that night, and Dusty said, "Hey, you want to do the fucking anthem?" And he went, "Yeah." So we stuck him on there. So there, and here we are. Me and Bobby the Brain Heenan opening up the show. Heenan was really, really good in this. It's worth going back and watch it. Download it a second time. Help line Conrad's pockets.
That's right.
Okay. Download it a second time and watch it, because Heenan was really, really good there. And I was really excited. I was really, as we went along, I think we talked about it. Heenan kind of lost his love for WCW, and he was very upset. But right now, Heenan is really excited about our product. He's excited about being there. Second pay-per-view he's worked. And I'm pumped because, look, I'm working in the same building with Bobby Heenan, Jesse Ventura, Gene Okerlund, and me. Not only that, I'm pretty fucking skinny here.
Is it me, or does Bobby Heenan look like he's dressed like a cruise director right here?
Right. Yeah, the cummerbund looks like it is from like the Grand Caymans or something. So now we're going to go, I think we're going to go to
Johnny,
whoa!
Look at this shit. Johnny fucking B. Bad.
God.
Dressed like the gay cowboy from Pee Wee Herman.
Actually, when I saw the hat, I thought it was Shawn Michaels with a bad tan.
Shawn Michaels?
Yeah, the hat.
No, Shawn Michaels never wore this goofy shit.
Okay.
Look at this. Okay. Can you believe this guy's talking to our youth? What is he doing?
Yeah, right. And pretty soon he's going to get the gun.
He's probably had to get the gun to get Brock Lesnar off his wife.
Okay. He's going to get the gun, and he's going to stick it between the old legs here. And, of course, he's going to douse everybody with glitter. So all pretty excited about a good opening match.
No, it's not. Don't you put that on them? This is a fucking Johnny B. Bad match. How good could it really fucking
Oh,
be?
look at that.
Confetti is still a thing. I saw recently when you guys crowned Shane Strickland the MLW World Champion, there was a confetti. And I couldn't help but think, this is very Johnny B. Bad.
You thought that was Johnny B. Badish?
Yes.
Okay. So Johnny B. Bad basically owns confetti now. Anytime you see confetti in wrestling, you're going to think about Johnny B. Bad.
I do. I did when Daniel Bryan won at WrestleMania 30, and they were going, yes, yes, yes. I feel like this was his gimmick. By the way, Dusty Rhodes, booking genius, creative genius, is this his worst idea ever?
What, Johnny B. Bad?
Yes.
No, it's not. Midnight Rider's his worst idea ever.
Oh, it's not.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about what's going on here. Look at fucking DDP. I need you to describe this. Great friend of the show, but holy cow, what the fuck is going on with him?
Yeah, DDP went somewhere in Marietta and got this top. And those they had to do a lot of work. Those glasses is tinsel from his Christmas tree, it looks like.
You know what's funny, though, is when I see him coming out here, he looks like he's from a time warp. And then you see Kimberly, and you're like, boy, that shit never went out of style.
No, you didn't. It apparently went out of style with our director, Craig Leathers, though, because Craig obviously didn't take enough shots of her.
I mean, I think people sort of sleep on Kimberly.
Yes, sir.
And not with. Calm down.
Okay.
Kimberly is like top 5 most beautiful women in the history of professional wrestling.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe top three.
And it just makes you wonder, like, how good of a fucking salesman is DDP? First of all, he sold us on him being in wrestling, and Kimberly was really the deal.
Well,
but behind the scenes, Kimberly, I mean, he had to sell her, and now he's selling us DDP Yoga. I think we should crown him the greatest salesman in the history of professional wrestling.
He could be one of them. Now, the sales job he may have done on Kimberly may have to do with, I don't know, the size of the Johnson, you think?
No, I mean, listen, if that was her game, she'd have been hollering at old Colonel Robert Parker in the backstage area, would she not?
You may have noticed that someone is putting a sign up that says, "We want Chris and Tammy." Have you noticed that?
I have not noticed that. They were over like Rover in Smoky Mountain at the time.
Yeah.
About to set the world on fire for the WWF. I guess we should catch you up here. We talked about what a great success this was for the Live House. Well, they did a lot on pay-per-view too. 122,000 buys, only a .53 buy rate, but that represents 1.37 million. So not a ton of money by today's standards, but in a down period in wrestling here, you guys had to be pleased with that.
It was a down period for us. We brought in Okerlund, we brought in Bobby Heenan, and Eric was in the midst of bringing in Hulk Hogan, which we thought would turn us around, which obviously eventually it did. But we were right on that. I thought we were in a period right now either that things will really start to go high, good, or go down. And good thing for us.
That was like some John Madden level breakdown there. You know, if you score more points, you usually win. Hey, so let's talk about the logo on the mat here for WCW. It's like this crosshairs, sharpshooter style, marksman style logo.
Right.
Whose idea was that? Why did you guys start putting it on the mat? What can you tell us about that?
That logo was one that was designed by people that were employed by Eric Bischoff, and Eric liked that. Eric always thought that, and you've talked to Eric, I know, always thought that you need a logo that is recognizable, that once people see it, they'll know what it is. And that's why he eventually came out with that shitty thing that looked like this exploding vagina that we would see later down the road. But
Kimberly standing right there. Will you calm down? So let's talk about Spring Stampede, because we don't see another one until 1997. You guys didn't do a Spring Stampede for 95 or 96. What was the thinking in not making it a regular part? Was somebody not up on the name, or do you have any insight on that? Or
I don't have any insight on that, with the exception of there was a marketing department with WCW that liked things and didn't like things, and Spring Stampede had a very cowboy connotation to it.
Let's talk a little bit about Hulk Hogan, because you've brought him up a few times now. On the Saturday night leading up to this event, so the prior night, Gene Okerlund says that he had talked to Hulk Hogan and he's going to be sitting ringside,
right?
Which you guys actually sort of plug again here during the show, but he's never even scheduled to come to this show, and the agreement wasn't even worked out until earlier in the week. So Meltzer would say it was nothing more than deceptive advertising in the Saturday show, and considering he doesn't show, it's kind of hard to argue, isn't it?
Yeah, well, first of all, let him try to go book that shit. First of all, if you're going to get Hulk Hogan eventually, why wouldn't you drop his fucking name? Right?
Right.
And apparently it didn't do, if we only had a 0.5 buy rate, where the people didn't come in droves expecting to see Hulk Hogan. So I think we positioned it as well as we could.
Behind the scenes here,
I mean, I could have stood up and said, "Hey, guess what? Hulk Hogan's coming to Spring Stampede. Dave Meltzer, make sure you're there to watch it." We didn't say anything like that.
Talk me through Ric Flair's role sort of backstage at the time. Of course, he had played, part-time booker, full-time booker, head booker, on the committee, out of the committee, every which way but loose. At this point, what was his role backstage?
I think his role backstage to me was like it always had been. He was always Ric Flair, and he always was. We talk so much. I'm serious about this. We talk so much about Hulk Hogan being in charge of his own gimmick, but Ric Flair was too, if he wanted to be. They would have never, if Ric Flair put his foot down on anything they would ask him to do, they would have done what Ric Flair wanted to do.
Except for that time that they got in a death feud and sued the fuck out of each other.
Right. But I'm talking about as far as the ring is concerned. Flair became our booker, and I'm not so sure what the time was. He became the head booker.
Right.
Maybe around this time. And he was, as much as I love him, he was a terrible head booker.
Well, and we haven't talked about this, but let me tell you why he was a terrible head booker.
Because he needed Ritalin.
It's short attention span.
Right.
The attention span of a gnat.
Right. That's why I say needed Ritalin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and a great guy, but he will not sit still.
No.
And he's every which way. He's like a shark. He's got to keep moving.
Right. We would sit down in the committee meeting. I won't say booking committee meeting, but we would sit down in the meeting, and Flair would sit at the head of the table, and I swear, 10 minutes into it, he would say, JR, I need to talk to you, or somebody, I need to talk to you. And they get up and they would go outside and walk and do like a kayfabe sidebar. And we all stand there with our dick in our hand, and Flair would come back in. And then he would say, I got to take a phone call. And then he would fucking leave. He was creatively, in his mind, he was great about booking Ric Flair.
Stuff he cared about.
Great about calling matches, about running a booking committee. He didn't want to do it, I don't think. I think he took it thinking that he wanted to do it. But then when it started, he didn't want to do it at all.
You know, there's been a rap about a guy like Bobby Eaton, because I've often questioned, like, when everybody's sort of saying that he's the best, hey, take a look here. Look at there.
Oh, man, Johnny B. Bad.
Gets the win.
Okay.
And I hope we get a replay here, because I'm going to need you to call it, because it was sort of an interesting-looking visual for the finish.
Okay, we'll take a look at it one more time as Kimberly and Diamond Dallas Page are arguing on the far side. Also during this match, Bobby Heenan was presented this BH diamond-studded and something, and we forgot to show it on TV. Take a look at over the top goes Johnny B. Bad with a crossbody. Can't pin him there, you dumbass. And now with a sunset flip, rolls him through, nose right in the goofus, and there you go. Man, his nose right in his asshole.
He had a mouthful of gluten-free waffles.
Wow, did he? Man, nose buried right deep in the asshole, and the winner is Johnny B. Bad. That's the name of the move, actual move.
Nose full of asshole?
Nose in the asshole. That's right.
I feel like
that should be a shirt.
It should be over at LoisRules.com. It might be, actually.
Okay. Right.
So let's talk about that match before, because I think we sort of slept on this, because they've wrestled, it feels like, in the opening match on every show you and I have ever covered.
Exactly.
I don't know what was going on there. It's like they had a best of 7 for the motivational speakers. Right? It was Tony Robbins versus Zig Ziglar in a fucking death match.
Yeah. Well, who are we to say, right? One was fucking Kimberly, and one was fucking the other girl.
Sable.
So
those are the 2 best salesmen in the whole company.
That's right.
They sold their way onto the card.
Okay, here's Mean Gene Okerlund, and I'm talking to Jesse the Body Ventura, and Jesse, I need a kidney. So I was wondering if I could borrow $1 million. Yeah, I'm not letting you borrow $1 million, you short little son of a bitch. And you shouldn't laugh into it. But I do need a kidney. Now, on the somebody move that camera over. What the fuck? On the WCW Wrestling Hotline right now, we are collecting funds for my left kidney. That's at 1-900-909-9900. It's 1-900-909-9900. Hey, fuck that, man. I'm going to be on the hotline. I'm going to be talking to Gordon Sully. We're not going to try to sell your kidney. What are you talking about? Well, come on now. You know that I've been smoking and drinking my entire life, so my left kidney is fucking gone. And if I don't get a kidney by this time next year, I'll be fucking dead. Here's the number, 1-900-909-9900. Kids, fuck it. Call it. Don't ask nothing. I need your money right now. That's right. It's not the hotline tonight. It's the Gene Okerlund kidney. And if I don't get a kidney, you'll get your kidney, motherfucker. If I don't get a kidney, wait, I said you'll get your kidney if we have to go and knock out Vince McMahon and put him in a tub full of ice and then steal his kidney. You think it would be a match? I'm sure. Both of you have been low-life motherfuckers. Thank you very much. We're going to be going back to the ring. Remember, call. I need my kidney right now. And we got more coming up with Spring Stampede in just a moment. Jesse, I want my goddamn kidney. You'll get your kidney, you little motherfucker. You'll get your kidney. Well, again, if we got to knock out Vince McMahon, put him in a tub of ice, and steal his fucking kidney, you'll be a match. All right. Well, I know that I did party with Vince many, many times through the years, and I'm sure that what was in my body is in his body as well. Will it be a match? I don't need 2. I need 1. I said it'll be fine. I'll knock him fucking out. We'll put him in the tub. All right. Oh, I'm going to get a kidney. I'm going to get a fucking kidney. Let's go to the ring.
Let me just say I love you, Tony Schiavone.
Okay. Well, he did need a kidney at that time.
I mean,
he did.
Well, he got one eventually.
He was looking for every day. I would say, you got a match for your kidney? And he'd say, no. I said, well, you could fucking die any time then, couldn't you? And he said, no, I'm going to get a match for my kidney. He did have a kidney transplant. And he's still fucking alive.
While we're talking about it, I guess we should mention
Gene Okerlund is still alive. And he's got somebody else's kidney.
Still drinking.
Yes. I mean, good God.
It's the best.
I mean, Gene Okerlund was the best stick man ever. There was nobody even close.
By the way, Dick Bourne disagrees with that. He says that Gene Okerlund was overrated.
Really?
So let's go ahead and remind you.
I guess he thinks Ed Capral was. Ed Capral was the greatest stick man ever. Or Rich Landrum.
According to you, Ric Flair was the greatest stick man ever.
Yes, he was. I saw that thing in action, boys. But that's a story that's for another time. Here is, you were talking about Bob Eaton. Here's Bob Eaton's father-in-law. You do know that, don't you?
That's right, Mr. Dundee.
Right.
Strutting that ass to the ring with Lord Steven Regal. And I got to say, I sort of forgot about this match, but Regal and Pillman, man, this has money all over it, does it not? These guys know how to wrestle.
They know it. Look, you know what I feel about Steve Regal? Anything he does was great. He was absolutely tremendous. He played the villain perfectly, and he was a great champion. And, of course, Brian Pillman certainly left us too soon. Michael Buffer, by the way, who was normally for the last matches, they used him for all the title matches during this. When Eric finally said, God, if we're paying this motherfucker $5,000, we better get more than one match out of him. And that's what we used him in all the title matches.
Good for them. I can't believe that it was only $5,000. I thought he was commanding a lot larger price.
Well, he was. I think he was commanding a lot larger price, but every time he would say "Ready to Rumble," he would get $5,000.
Holy shit!
Every time he said it, yeah.
We got to come up with a phrase. What would your $5,000 phrase be?
Okay, slapdicks, pay attention.
That's worth 50 cents. It's about what Court's paying you too. So MLW Fusion on BN Sports.
That's right.
Check it out.
Watch a month's worth, and I'll make $1.
So let's talk about this match here in particular, because this is a match that a lot of people had big expectations for. But according to the rumor and innuendo, they had just signed Pillman that week, and so I sort of watched this earlier this week and felt like, man, what are they doing with Brian Pillman? I mean, this like babyface persona he'd adopted here is not nearly as effective as what he was with the Hollywood Blondes. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. But they, and of course, they had a lot to do with trying to get contracts done and sign guys. But they thought, and rightfully so, that Steve Austin was going to be their next star, and they wanted him to be in singles matches.
So Brian Pillman and Austin, according to the Observer, had met with Titan Sports and actually tested the waters with All Japan. And a lot of people believed, hey, they're pretty much done here. And then they wind up re-signing. It was believed that Austin's contract called for 200 dates minimum. And at the present rate, I guess it's worth mentioning, WCW didn't even have 200 shows, so he'd get the minimum at $1,000 per show. So $200,000 is what Austin was looking to come in for. And that was a slight raise from his old deal, which was $190,000. And allegedly, Pillman's contract was calling for 185 dates. Austin, at this point, is the reigning United States champion, but these guys were on fire as the Hollywood Blondes. And I feel like when they split them up, Pillman was sort of a ship without a sail here. As a heel, Brian Pillman was on fire, and now here maybe not so much.
Well, yeah, I always before he became the heel, he was a very good babyface. And listen, you always make more money with singles matches than you do tag team. If you got two performers that are great performers, you need to split them up. You get two good matches instead of one match with both of them. And I thought it was the right move to do. I really did.
Marty Jannetty disagrees with everything you just said.
I bet he does.
Yeah. Was Eric Bischoff handling negotiations with contracts for the talent here in early '94 or no?
Yes, to my knowledge, he was.
One of the other things that I wanted to mention, and I feel like this sort of gets overlooked, is the rumor and innuendo that Jim Ross and the WWF were parting ways. And allegedly, and I don't have this confirmed, it was just in the Observer, Jim Ross was scheduled to have a meeting with Eric Bischoff about coming back in for an announcer job. And obviously those guys had history from when JR left the first time. Did you hear that JR was trying to come back at a time when Mean Gene was here, Bobby Heenan's here, you're here? Jesse Ventura's here. It would have been the most loaded announce team in the history of the business.
In more ways than one.
Sasha Fries.
I never heard that story. You know what? I never heard that story. I thought Jim was very happy with where he was. And I knew that, and you'll see the credits at the end of this show. You know, Bill Shaw, who was in charge of WCW at that time, who was the one that basically ran Jim Ross out of WCW, would have never wanted Ross back.
Well, somebody who they didn't want back for sure was Too Cold Scorpio. Allegedly, he was fired earlier this week. Apparently, Scorpion said that maybe he failed one too many piss tests for marijuana.
I guess so. Yeah.
Is that ultimately the reason for his demise?
Absolutely, yeah.
Let me ask this. I mean, let's just be honest.
Uh-oh.
Marijuana, is that really that big a deal at the time? I mean, Hulk Hogan was one of the original Doobie Brothers.
Well, I know that, but you know, if you got glaucoma, it's not a big deal.
Or if you're on top, brother.
I'm telling you, that is, look, baseball has come out with, for every year, has come out with drug testing, right? And how many of the players fail drug tests in baseball?
A lot.
No. Yeah, a lot. A lot of them are in the minor leagues. None of the top stars do. Maybe one or two.
Because it's a work.
That's right. It's all.
Everything in life is a work.
It's all drug testing's a fucking work. It's a work. I mean, you will, if the top 3 stars in baseball fail a drug test, I promise you, they're not going to get suspended.
My favorite is when the WWE would
I just lost my
have
job
someone
too,
fail a drug test,
okay,
and then they'd be like, well, after the pay-per-view, we're sending him home.
That's right.
You know, it's like,
yeah,
I mean, listen, we want to be legit, but at the same time, we got a fucking business to run.
Right. But I think, I think that obviously they're that all athletics a little bit cleaner than they used to be as far as drugs are concerned. I really do.
If Klondike Bill was around, they wouldn't be cleaner. Hey, so Meltzer reported the only major backstage commotion during this entire pay-per-view was around your boy, Jesse Ventura. Apparently, he showed up at the building completely unaware that he wasn't doing play-by-play, and nobody fucking smartened him up.
That's right.
So chat me up about this.
Yeah.
When is the decision made? Why did nobody tell him? According to the legend, Bischoff never really liked Ventura anyway.
You're right.
Was he just being dismissive of him? Like, fuck him, I got to pay him, but I don't want him on the show?
Right. Exactly.
And what was Jesse's response to that? Because Jesse has an ego.
Yeah, Jesse's response was, according to what Jesse told me, is, fuck it. I'm getting paid. I'm getting paid a lot of money. If he doesn't want me to do but a couple of things, I'll just do my couple of things and forget about it. Jesse got to the point to where he would just show up to do voiceovers at our studios and then leave.
Is that maybe one of the first instances of ATM Eric?
Yeah, I guess it could have been.
I mean, where he's just paying a guy.
Right.
And he's supposed to be getting more out of him, but he doesn't like him, so fuck him. I'm going to pay him and get less out of him.
Exactly. That's
Vince
exactly.
McMahon would never do that. Vince McMahon would say, hey, I'm not getting my money's worth. Get the fuck out.
Right. But I think maybe Jesse's contract was to the point to where he could get the fuck out, because Kip Fry is the one that brought Jesse in, not Eric.
Maybe the most interesting match of the night, we're not even going to see here, but I want to get your thoughts on this because I can't believe this is real. Danny Bonaducci and Christopher Knight had a match, a dark match, before the show went on the air.
Yeah. Ventura
opens the show and introduces these guys, and apparently they really basically fucking kill the town. As a reminder, Christopher Knight was Peter Brady on the fucking Brady Bunch, and Danny Bonaducci was a part of the Partridge Family as Danny Partridge.
That's right.
And he's a local DJ in Chicago. And
come on, get happy.
There you go.
Come on, get happy.
Meltzer says the match was so incredibly horrible to the point it was perversely entertaining as bad comedy, and it was basically an expose as they're doing high spots, and Christopher Knight can't stop laughing. Although Bonaducci got a big pop, and his appearance sold a lot of tickets locally. So chat me up. What do you remember about this horse shit?
I remember I was sleeping and right in the middle of a good dream. And all at once I wake up. That's something that keeps knocking at my brain. It's Danny wrestling here and fucking up our promotion. And pretty soon, you know, David Arquette will be our champ. I think I love you. I think That's what I remember about it.
I fucking love you.
Thank you very much. I know the words of that song.
So as a reminder here,
I was a big Partridge Family guy.
I could tell.
Yeah.
The main event here tonight is Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat.
Yes, sir.
The other bookend of the show, the Partridge Family and the Brady Bunch.
Well, that was for the house, right? I mean, I can't. Look, we so badly, and we were getting it by this time, and we really got it once Hulk Hogan came aboard. We so badly wanted the rub by someone else, by other
mainstream, whatever
mainstream
it is.
media. Thank you. Yes, that we were so bad that if Danny Bonaducci and the guy that played Peter Brady wanted to come and pull down their pants and fuck each other in the ass, we may have videotaped it and put it on the network right before something else to wrestle with.
I don't think they're doing that. I think they even bleep the fucks even on that show.
Wow.
So around this time, WCW Magazine folded. It had allegedly dipped below 3,000 subscriptions, which is basically where the J.J. Dillon podcast is at this point. So they decided to pull the plug on it, which somebody should do to J.J. Do we know for sure that he's still plugged up to the machines?
Wow. Jesus. Well, had a guy named Richard Steinberg who was in charge of the WCW magazine, and he had me write some things. And we're going to see Richard actually later on in the show, who worked in merchandising as well. And it was bullshit. It really was. It was a bullshit magazine.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was kind of like steroid testing. It was all bullshit.
Absolutely. Speaking of bullshit, around this time, Missy Hyatt had filed lawsuit against WCW for a sexual harassment suit. She also alleged gender pay bias and other related subjects. This is directly from The Observer. Hyatt discovered that a picture of her breast popping out of her dress at Starcade had been blown up and hung in the photo room in WCW headquarters. She's suing for several $1 million. Later, by the way, she'd show them titties for $19.99 at WrestlingVixens.com. The lawsuit gained mainstream attention, and both Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh spoke about it on their highly popular radio shows. What do you remember about Missy's lawsuit, and specifically blowing up them booby meats?
Listen, if the boobies had been blown up and put somewhere in the office, I'd have known about them. I'd have seen them. So I didn't know about those at all. But it all sounds to me, with the exception of maybe. I can't speak for anybody in sexual harassment towards Missy because I wasn't there. But the other sounds to me like, she just wants to get some money out of the company, which is owned by Turner Broadcasting. Gender bias, things like that.
Oh, sure. Listen, I mean, there were lots of people who sued and did money grabs.
Right.
One of our great friends of the show, I'll tell you off air, I think I mentioned this before, he sued, and they didn't even try to refute it. They just settled right away for like $70,000.
Yeah, they would settle just like that.
I think the rap from Bischoff is something like, if they asked for less than 100, we just paid it.
Right.
Which makes you think, in hindsight, you should have fucking sued, right?
Maybe I should right now.
Well, I don't
Turner
know.
Broadcasting is still
okay. But it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
You could say they discriminated against you, that maybe someone saw the button, ridiculed it.
Or maybe I should sue Turner Broadcasting for putting on shitty TV shows like they're doing right now. Who in the world watches TNT or TBS?
I don't know anybody.
I don't know anybody who watches them. Not at all. I mean, Fox Sports, FX,
BN Sports,
FX, A&E. Everybody's fucking past them.
Hypothetically, since you're shitting all over them, let's just if they hired you,
I would never go to work for them ever.
They're going to pay $1 million guarantee.
No.
Well, I'm starting Tuesday. I'm just letting you know, it's a little disappointing. I feel like you're ruining kayfabe here because your son Chris Schiavone called you a wrestling whore on the Schiavone wedding special.
He doesn't know fuck shit.
Of course not. Look who his dad is, right? Hey, so speaking of fuck shit, have you got my fucking 6-man belt yet out of the goddamn attic?
No, but my oldest son Matt, this coming weekend, supposed to come home, and he said something to Chris. He said, this is a true story. He said, let's go in the attic and find Conrad's belt.
Can you put it on Facebook Live?
If we find it?
No, just the search. It would almost be better if you didn't find it. It would be like Capone and Geraldo. You know what I mean?
That would be good.
Tease it.
Yes.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So coming soon to Facebook Live at facebook.com/WHW Monday. It's not Al Capone's vault. It's Tony Schiavone's attic.
That's right. And we find the 6-man tag team belt. Maybe.
And suits that haven't fit in 30 years.
Yeah, I haven't fit in 10 years. I've gained a lot of weight since I met you. Whoa, look at that.
I have that effect on people. I mean, you start making money and you get a little relaxed. That's what happens. You eat better. So, hey, we should mention here, we're talking over a pretty good match here.
Yeah.
They're going to go to a fucking draw.
Right.
Spoiler. I hate to give you a 14-year later spoiler. Meltzer would write, I'd say it's a safe bet the original finish was going to be Regal going over, but was changed since Pillman had signed a 2-year contract for good money, and it would be a poor investment to beat him in the second match. He gives this match 2 3/4 stars. What
Interesting.
do you think about it?
Interesting. He said it was a safe bet that Regal was going to go over until they signed Pillman. I don't know. Why would that have anything to do with the finish of this match?
Well, because if Pillman's leaving, if his contract's up, then you don't put over a guy who's leaving, right?
Yeah, I guess not.
In the first match, of course, we should mention, we didn't give a rating here, but Meltzer wrote, Johnny B. Bad and Diamond Dallas Page in about 6 minutes was a good opener, 2 1/4 stars. So, at a 5 and 6 minute match, makes sense to me that it would be a good match.
Yeah.
But I feel like we still needed more Kimberly close-ups there.
Yeah, we did. Also, I want to say something about this entire show. The fans are really into this stuff. They were
This is a hot crowd, man.
Yeah, it is a hot crowd. They were buying our stuff, so it was really good. We're now in the WWE's building. We're getting ready to have Hogan join us. We got Gene Okerlund, we got Jesse Ventura, we got all the guys, Bobby Heenan, really all the guys who were the voices of what made Vince a big star back then, or made his company big. And now it's Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson making his company big. Watch out, both of them go on the floor.
Should we call this one for real from this point? You got into it. It got me a little excited.
No. I only call matches when Court Bauer's money's available. And
so let's talk about this.
Oh, boy.
Dundee. You got any good Dundee stories? I just saw him take a tumble on the outside.
Bill was kind of a little worker. I mean, he would try to tell you and sell you something, and he would talk so fast you had no idea what the fuck he was talking about. So you would kind of agree with him, and then you would say, "What the fuck did he just say?" And his daughter
she needed glasses and married Bob Eaton.
Right? Is Donna still married to Bob Eaton?
I don't even know if I don't know. I shouldn't comment.
Yeah, I don't know, because she was kind of a character in herself.
So we've talked about this before,
right?
But I'm going to be careful with what we say here.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of the boys have alleged over the years that Dundee maybe had an interesting situation going on. There were a lot of rumors around him.
Okay, I don't know, but
here's me, Gene.
Yeah, Colonel Parker, I'm going to check. Would you happen to have in that briefcase of yours a kidney for me? No, I ain't got a kidney for you, but I got one gigantic dick, you little sawed-off bald man. That's right. Well, I would ask that guy for a kidney, but he stinks, man. Don't you worry about how he smells. And don't you worry about what I got in my briefcase. What, did you fucking fart? What the fuck? I'm talking here. Okay. So you're looking for a kidney, and I have in my briefcase here money that could probably buy you a kidney, but I ain't going to use it for that, because I'm going to use it because I've got stunning Steve Austin, a guy who's going to be one of the biggest stars in wrestling. And once he gets away from this shitty promotion and goes to the WWE, and I'm going to make sure that, as you can see, this big briefcase is hiding my joint. That's right. My Johnson is right. Don't look at that down. It's right on the other side of this briefcase. And to my right is really one of the fine workers in our business, and that is Bunkhouse Buck. Buck, before we get into the match, do you have a kidney for me? Does it look like I got a kidney, you stupid sumbitch? I don't even have underwear on under these jeans. Nope. And I'm going to chafe. And my balls sack's going to stick to the side of my legs when I wrestle Dustin Rhodes, because I forgot my underwear. So stop asking me about your goddamn kidney and Dustin Rhodes. You motherfucker. Fuck you. I'll take your kidney out right now. All right. That's it. Let's go back to the ring.
Let me just say that I love you, and I'm glad that Colonel Robert Parker and Tony Schiavone both working for MLW at BN Sports.
Yeah, we MLW. It's the nursing home of pro wrestling.
So up next,
okay.
Let me just tell you, and I'm going to find this week. Are you ready for the most revealing, embarrassing thing I can possibly share with you today?
Yes, I am.
As a Ute, I believe it was probably 1990.
Yeah.
my best friend, who was a guy by the name of Eric Tillerson, and his nickname was Fish.
Is Eric still alive?
He is. He's my age. He lives in Prattville, Alabama.
Okay.
He and I went trick-or-treating as the fucking Nasty Boys. And I have got a picture of he and I.
Oh, I've got to see it
somewhere at my mom's house. And I'm going to have her pull it up when all of her friends, because they're all old people, right? And so they all like Facebook each other and shit like that.
Right. They want to show
Well,
pictures.
they were all bragging to my mom that, oh my God, I see your boy signed a deal with WWE. And it's like, what the fuck? You haven't even talked to this person in 30 years. But they remembered that I was a wrestling fan as a kid.
Right.
So when that news got out, a lot of people started stirring it up here in Alabama on AL.com and shit like that. Well, this week I will post me as a 9-year-old nasty boy on our Facebook.
On our Facebook page?
Yeah.
Okay.
WHW Monday.
Well, good. I thought maybe the WWE would have to take that picture off since he's now
all right, I'm really excited about this match.
Yeah,
We've
this
got
is a good
Cactus Jack and Max Payne.
Yeah.
Stop what you're doing if you're not watching this with us and go turn this shit on. You need to watch this. It's one of my favorite matches from this era. It is the most violent shit you've ever seen. I've put these guys over a lot. The Nasty Boys are the most underrated tag team, perhaps in history. I feel like people sort of lump them in with like the fucking Godwins, and they were not that. They were brawlers. When you let them be, they were ass kickers, man.
Yes, they were. And they were also working with a couple of guys, Cactus Jack for sure, that wanted you to fucking lay it in. I mean, when you were working the Cactus Jack, he would say, don't pull a punch, really fucking hit me. And that's what they would do. And the Nasty Boys were like that as well. They were also very, very dangerous. Heenan, and I know this for a fact, Heenan hated calling a Nasty Boys match when we were at ringside because he thought that Brian Knobbs was the most out of control guy ever, and that Brian Knobbs would eventually hurt Bobby Heenan, and Heenan was scared to death of that.
It's worth mentioning that Cactus Jack is working here less than a month after having his fucking ear ripped off.
Yes, it was
against Vader in Japan,
right,
or in Germany.
Right, and he's still got it taped, and we bring that up about having his ear. His ear got ripped off up against a turnbuckle pad.
Well, it was when he did the hangman deal between the ropes, right?
Right.
The ropes had it squeezed.
Right, exactly. That's what it was.
Pinched it off. The ropes were just a little too tight that night, tighter than normal.
Right.
And let me just tell you, man, there's lots of things that I enjoy about wrestling, but I think what most of us fans enjoy is when we watch something, and we sort of all know it's a wink and a nod, but when we see something, we're like, okay, that was scripted, but this
was fucking
real.
Like this chair shot we're going to see. Watch this.
Everything about this match is fucking legitimate.
Yes,
they are beating the shit out of each other.
Exactly. And the good news is for us, and I had to be concerned about this too. I hadn't had my neck surgery as of yet. My neck surgery would come up actually in a year. Heenan had just had neck surgery, so here we were both a bunch of slugs with bad necks, and we had these fucking four behemoths, doing a hardcore match all around us, and we were fucking petrified. We really were. The good news is they kept it over there. Heenan had talked to Bischoff before this match and had said something to Doug Dellinger about it too. He said, listen, I just had neck surgery. Schiavone's got a bad neck, and I was going to go see a doctor. We were talking about me getting neck surgery, which eventually I had. And he told Doug Dellinger, he said, make sure that those stupid motherfuckers are on the other side of the ring. Now, I don't want to make this all about me, but these are some of the things I remember during this match.
Let me just tell you, these guys they're in a Chicago street fight, and they're absolutely brutal to one another. They're really laying it in.
Yeah.
And credit to Cactus Jack, because as we said, he lost a fucking ear. I can't overstate that. On March 16th, and here we are less than a month later, he's not missing a match, and he's getting his ass beat.
Right. I think we ought to do a little tip of the cap to Max Payne here as well. Of all four guys in there, he is probably the least star moving forward. I know he wrestled a little bit, but he did a pretty good job in this match as well.
No, he held his own for sure.
Yeah.
He looks like Matt Coon, so we'd probably hate him too.
Right? Matt Coon's about 3 times fatter than that.
And half as talented. Can you imagine if that was your calling card? You're half as talented as Max Payne.
Can you imagine driving up to somewhere in Mechanicsville, Virginia, and saying, "I want this guy to teach my kid how to play guitar"?
Can you imagine leaving your children with Matt Coon?
No, I can't.
Hey, this will be fine.
Yeah.
No, he's gonna fucking eat them.
That's right.
So this
if
is
he get
one
off
of
the
my
couch, fucking lazy.
My favorite little segments here.
There's Richard Steinberg. See in the right, he was the guy who was the head of WCW magazine.
With the foam fingers?
Yeah, with the foam fingers.
Like a fucking goof?
Yeah. No, he didn't know what to do. But this was obviously a gimmick place that we put up. And so Steinberg just standing there with the foam finger saying, buy this foam finger. Buy this fucking foam finger. Oh, but I'm going to stand there. And usually if a guy who they all knew was standing around, they're
going to fuck with him.
They're going to fuck with him. But he got lucky. They didn't really fuck with him.
The merchandise stand, of course, there are no fans there buying the merchandise, not because it's gimmicks, but because nobody wants the shitty merchandise.
Nobody wants the shitty merchandise, absolutely. And now, Cactus Jack and Brian Knobs laying it in, or Jerry Saggs laying it in. Whoa, wow. The Nasty Boys were also known, even in matches that weren't hardcore matches, were known as guys who would give their opponents taters.
Dude, let's talk about, and we've talked about it here before, their Halloween Havoc match with the Steiners, one of my all-time favorite matches.
Yes, it was. We did that earlier, and it was like, there's Steinberg saying, no, don't do it.
SaveWithConrad.com.
Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois. My wife started the process with one of the big major corporations, and things were going very badly. And finally, I just stopped and said, hey, listen, I've been listening to the ads for years. Let's go with Save with Conrad and see what we can have happen. We were trying to free up a little space so we could spend down some debt and do some home improvements. We saved quite a bit, and in the long run, we're going to do a lot better with Save with Conrad than we would have anywhere else. It was absolutely beautiful. Like Larry and Francis they were the greatest. Not only were they professional, knew what they were talking about, they were friendly, and they cared about the job they were doing, which was so important to me. I would absolutely recommend Save with Conrad to anybody. Hi, this is Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois, and I wanted to do some home improvements and spend down a little debt, and I got hold of Save with Conrad, and we did incredibly.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.
Just some great shit. So Max Payne's going to get a shirt, and go get a Nasty Boy shirt.
Seriously, who was buying a Nasty Boy? Well, maybe me.
Well, who's dressing up like a Nasty Boy? So let's just take this and stuff it down his fucking throat. That's what I like, man.
Here's the thing. You're going to give me shit for being 9 and dressing like a Nasty Boy. You were 40 and dressed like the goddamn Phantom of the Opera.
I would never give you shit for being 9. Okay.
I was 9 and I was booking the territory, right?
That's right. You probably could have. You probably would have, but you probably would have given more attention to it than Ric Flair did. Woo, Papa Riddling, come back in here. What the fuck?
Oh, by the way,
okay.
You can't call him Papa. We're going with Pop Pop. That's
Pop
the
Pop?
official name, Pop
Wow.
Pop.
Okay.
By the way, I saw over the weekend, Pop Pop did a personal appearance, and at that appearance, Sting was there, Eric Bischoff was there, Mick Foley was there,
Yeah.
the Nasty Boys were there.
Wow.
Where were you this weekend?
I was doing a baseball game.
I got baseball. I'm sorry, I can't. I got baseball. It's going to be a shirt soon at loisrules.com. And we've got lots of fun shirts at loisrules.com. And you actually shared earlier this week that you've got a new bumper sticker on the old Schiavone mobile.
On the old Schiavone mobile, my daughter and her new husband, they're pretty good at making these stickers, and they got a window sticker for me that has hashtag NFLTG on the back of my card. And that's a shirt at loisrules.com, by the way.
In honor of last week's ECW episode, one of the most famous ECW shirts of all time was a shirt that said ECF and W. Well, now we have a WHF and W shirt wrapped in barbed wire. You got to see that. But the number one new seller, and I think you would agree with this, is Sassafras.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
How many Sassafras shirts have we sold?
We've sold about 25.
How about that?
That's about 25
Sassafras.
So get yours, and you can be a part of loisrules.com. Let me also
Stop what you're doing and turn on the fucking WWE Network. You have to go watch this right now. This match is out of control, and right now we've got Cactus Jack and Jerry Saggs on the ramp. Describe what you're seeing here, Tony.
Okay, we got... do I have to? I'm kind of stunned. I've never heard you promote the WWE Network like you're doing right now.
Well, because this shit right here, he just suplexed the fucking table on him.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. Now that you're on the fucking network, that's all we're fucking talking about.
Trying to get you a fucking gig.
Oh, okay. Man. Tune to the network right now. Man, it's some good shit. He go hit him with a fucking shovel. Watch this.
Dude, this is sick.
Now watch. They go hit him with a shovel, but watch these two stupid motherfuckers. That's all I can say. I love it. Watch these two stupid motherfuckers stand on a gimmick fucking table. They're going to stand on a gimmick table. You think it's going to last? Watch this.
700 pounds.
Yeah, on a gimmick table. It ain't going to last. You
go.
stupid son of a bitches. Somebody always sawed that table in half, and you stand on it.
Brian Knobbs hit Cactus Jack hard as fuck in the head with a shovel.
Oh, Jesus
Both
Christ.
Sags and Cactus collapsed the table. Watch this bump, Tony Schiavone.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Okay,
Don't miss this.
Okay.
What the fuck just happened? Jerry Sags just murdered Cactus Jack. He pushed him off the ramp directly on the concrete.
Jesus.
I can't believe this guy's alive.
Well, they threw the shovel at him.
Absolutely.
To boot. Yeah.
No regard for humanity.
And you can see this for only $9.95 a month on the WWE Network.
See, there you go.
Okay.
Look, that's the
Watch it hit him. Fuck it.
in the face.
In the face. Hit him in the face with a fucking shovel. Yeah, they pinned him all right.
It was a fucking mob hit. This is the end of Sopranos. This isn't a fucking wrestling match.
And Max Payne says, I thought I'm supposed to get to
Here's
one do the
stupid ass Matt Coon covering children. Show's over, Dick. Go home. Wait, not anymore. Bam! He nailed it with the fucking table. You got to see it. $9.99 WWE Network.
I'm telling you, when I saw he's fucking out. I would say he's fucking seeing stars, but that fucker was always seeing stars. And that's why when I saw Cactus 2 years ago in Orlando at WrestleMania, and he could barely walk, I know why now.
What? He's got a hip replaced since then.
Really?
He's moving around a lot better. That concrete elbow for so many years took its toll, clearly. But, look at Cactus Jack here. At this point, he's been hitting the head with the shovel. He's been hitting the fucking face with the shovel. He went through a table. He went off the ramp, flat backed onto the concrete. One of the most violent matches in the history of wrestling, and we just covered it.
Yeah. I like to say hello to my good friend Triple H as well. And I'm really enjoying the WWE Network at $9.99 a month.
You know, it's funny that... here we go.
All right.
Here we go.
All right, Johnny B. Bad, I have been now... I didn't know why I was brought here, but I'm now in charge of finding a new kidney for Gene Okerlund. Now, I know that you probably have a kidney that's all full of steroids, but are you willing to donate your left kidney? Let me tell you something, I'm really going to fuck something again tonight. Let me tell you that. No. I will give Gene Okerlund my kidney as long as he comes out with me showing his abs like I'm showing my abs right now. I'll give Gene Okerlund a kidney. I know he's been smoking all his life. I know he's been drinking all his life. He's probably done some other shit. Let me say this, though. Did you know that I just won $1 million? $1 million from Vince McMahon. I told Tony Schiavone he could probably win it, too. But Schiavone said, what? What did Schiavone say? Schiavone said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and be the stupid son of a bitch, and by the time that 2010 goes around, I'm going to be broke. That's right, you dumb son of a bitch. Let's go to the ring. He did, by the way. He did come to me. Jesse said, he said, there's a precedent now for that. Do you want to sue Vince too?
But you're not broke anymore because now you're going to be on the WWE Network. I mean, we're working on it.
Yeah, well, I'm still married to Lois.
Uncle Paul.
Money in, money out. Money in, a lot of money out.
So, I guess it's worth mentioning here.
By the way, how's Eric doing? You talked to Eric Bischoff lately?
I did.
Is he doing okay?
He's doing great.
Good.
Yeah, I talked to him this week.
I need to call him on the phone.
Yeah, we could call him now.
I haven't talked to Eric. I really haven't talked to Eric since we parted.
Really?
Have not talked to him since we parted.
Well, we got to work on that.
Yeah, we emailed each other, but
I mean, you're kind of Eskimo brothers now because you're both going to be doing fucking shows with me.
Yeah, Eskimo brothers, right? We both got our nose up Conrad's ass when it gets cold. Rub nose up his ass.
So the great Muda is here, and to my surprise, this is the only show he works for y'all. I don't mean ever. I just mean here. Like, he didn't come over and do a bunch of shots. He came in for this.
Right. Right. Well, that's part. It's part of the deal that we had with New Japan Pro Wrestling at that time. And here he comes, man, Colonel Robert Parker. You know, as I'm watching this, and watch this as well. This is the way he's coming out talking like this. This is almost the infancy of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
It feels like he's doing like a heel Hulk Hogan coming out talking to the crowd.
Right.
By the way, Cassio Kid remarked earlier today, because Cassio's a balding fuck. Now, he's denying it, but he's got like a 9 head. I've got a 4 head. You've got a 3 head because you're a Mongoloid. And Cassio's got like a 9 head. And so when no one was around and the promo ran for this show, he said, God damn, I put a little gel in the hair. I could be stunning Steve Austin circa 94.
Yes, you sure could. You don't have the abs for it. But you sure could.
So one of my favorite stories from the weekend is belt maker friend of mine, Mr. Dave Milliken, who used to make all the belts for WWE and WCW, and he's made it for everybody. He's over at the house, and I'm watching Spring Stampede, and he just happens to be here because I'm trying to like bone up on my research and whatnot and see what we can talk about here. And he starts laughing when Austin comes out with Colonel Robert Parker. Because he says that years ago, when he was making belts for Steve, casually it comes up in conversation that Dave used to be pretty tight with a lot of the guys in Memphis. And he says, hey, man, did you ever spend much time around the Fullers? And he said, what do you mean? And he said, well, like Robert Fuller. He said, well, what's your read on Robert Fuller? And Dave said, well, I mean, I don't know. I never really met him, just once or twice in passing, but no real meeting. And he said something like, I always wondered about that cat. And I found that funny. It's like, well, he was your fucking manager. So, isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
CTE is real.
Well, here's what I know about Robert Fuller. Told me stories when we would do a little bit of traveling together. Colonel Parker would tell me stories about the old days of the business. We're talking about, probably 40s, 50s of the business.
Really?
That they would take over territories by gunpoint. Back then, there would be a lot of promoters.
So it was like East Coast, West Coast rap.
Yeah, I guess so. They would come in to say, guess what? You're not going to run this building anymore, or you're not run this territory. They say, why not? They say, we're taking it over. And they would come in with their hitting men with guns and run them out.
So what you're saying is Colonel Robert Parker was basically the Suge Knight of wrestling.
It could have been. I just think that members of his family way back then, I'm not going to blame him for that.
Who was your favorite of the two? Were you more of a Tupac or a Biggie guy?
I kind of like Tupac.
What's your favorite Tupac song?
Shake That Thing, Motherfucker, Ho Bitch.
Don't forget to download Shake That Thing, Motherfucker, Ho Bitch on iTunes. This is not a wrestling podcast anymore, but it's fucking awesome.
Shake That Thing, Motherfucker, Ho Bitch.
All right, there we go. It's on iTunes. Look it up. Trust me. So I feel like I should mention that Dave Meltzer was in love with that match before, like we were.
Well, he's a hoe bitch too.
Yeah. The match only went 9 minutes, but he called it one of the wildest, sickest, most brutal matches you'll ever see. One of the most brutal matches of all time. 4.5 stars. Unbelievable, man. The shovel shot, the concrete bump. Over the top. But here's the reason I'm talking about it again. The following month, Slamboree 94, Kevin Sullivan takes Max Payne's place in the match, and they beat the Nasties for the titles. Why was a change made here? Do you recall?
Max Payne was no longer with the company.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking is, what led to his demise? Of course, a lot of wrestling fans know that Max Payne filmed a lot of the boys doing things they shouldn't have been doing in the WWE, drugs and whatnot, and teased that he was going to release it. Of course, he never did, but he himself found himself released. Why did Max Payne find his demise here in WCW?
Dispute over money.
Really?
Yep. He thought that now we're in the Eric Bischoff era of, money starting to bump up a little bit, that he should get more. Because he also could play the guitar, unlike Matt Coon, and he also played the national anthem. And he thought he was getting he thought. Look, we talked about this earlier, that all these great stars in here. We've got the Matt Coon lookalike Max Payne, and he didn't think he was getting a good enough push, and doing crazy shit like this. And I would have to agree with him. I liked his gimmick. I did.
It's just amazing to me that he thinks he should be doing more when you've got Regal, Pillman, Muta, Austin, Flair, Rude, Sting, Steamboat. I mean, you got so much Cactus. You got so much talent.
I can't argue about that.
And Matt Coon wants a push.
I can't argue that.
Go do your Survivor podcast with fucking Johnny Fairplay and get the fuck out of here.
Does he do that podcast?
Nobody knows.
No, that's right. It's missing in action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, have you heard about his new podcast called Why It Ended?
No.
It's really one of the best concepts around. Seriously, what he does is he takes time to find like an old wrestling star who was only hot for a minute, like a Glacier.
Right.
And he interviews them about why it ended. He talks about their sort of rags to riches story.
Yeah.
And when they were on top, some of their sillinesses of their excesses, and then how it all came tumbling down. And then he tries to, when applicable, make everybody feel good about where they are today.
That's good.
It is good, but it's really, I don't know, it's like TMZ for podcasting, but it's tremendous.
Sounds good. How much money are the guys getting from that?
$0.
There you go.
Well, they're getting the same amount Matt Coon is.
Right. Yeah. There you go. You got to just stick to teaching kids how to play guitars.
Well, here's the thing with that, though. I've never seen him play an instrument. Well, I mean, I've seen him play a skin flute, but I've never seen him play a traditional instrument.
I'll do you one better. I've never seen him get off the fucking couch.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know the man had 2 feet.
At Matt Coon Music, if you'd like the worst follow on Twitter.
Jesus.
But, he's tagging WWE Network.
Yeah,
saying,
he can tag this is what he can do.
Why don't we get Why It Ended on the WWE Network? And I'm like, hold your horses, buddy. Hold your horses, buddy. And especially when he's like, can you believe that WWE is doing the greatest Royal Rumble in a racist, sexist country like Saudi Arabia? And I was like, those tweets aren't allowed to touch, dude. You can't be a sellout. I mean, and, do that. You got to be what I'm doing, and that's to yell, subscribe to the WWE Network for only $9.99.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, one of the great performers of all time just snatching a headlock.
Well, listen, in fairness, and I know what we're thinking here, because this match sort of got shit on a little bit, but if you just followed that brutal fucking straight fight, how can you follow that?
Yeah, I agree.
You've got to bring them down a little bit, do some mat work.
Right.
Because you can't compete with that. You're not hitting Great Muta with a fucking shovel in the face.
I know, yeah.
You're not, Steve Austin's not taking a flat back on concrete. Get out of here.
I was thinking this when I watched this same thing. When I watched it before we started doing this, I'm thinking, and of course I didn't remember exactly the order of matches until I watched it again. I'm thinking, who's going to follow this shit? And there you go.
Yeah, to me, this would have been a good spot to trot Medusa out.
Well, there's always a good spot to trot Medusa out.
I'm being serious. Like, Medusa
I'm being serious too.
Would have been a different level of interest.
Yeah, it always was for me.
Absolutely. Okay. What's Muta doing right now? If you had to describe what you're seeing right now.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
I wish you would.
Is Matt Coon doing Medusa's podcast?
No.
Does she fire his ass too?
No. We're gonna break some kayfabe here, I guess. We have not talked about this, but the tape machines are rolling.
Okay.
So
are we allowed? Okay, let's.
Here we go.
This is the most interesting part of our podcast so far.
So Matt Coon,
real live shit.
Matt Coon.
Breaking news on WHW Monday, and what have we seen recently on TV?
I can't believe it, but tonight during the Impact pay-per-view, did you know they're still doing pay-per-views?
No.
Well, they are, and I don't know how many people watched it, but at least one person did, and they posted a screen grab that said, Ham Cube fears Conrad.
For crying out loud, you made an impact.
He actually won the tag title in 2018 and did a top rope Frankensteiner. Your thoughts, Tony Schiavone?
You need to stop doing that because he's getting fucking old now. He fears Conrad. That's good. I guess we're not welcome at the Shoney's in Ackworth, right?
Somewhere in the comments tonight, as this sort of broke on Twitter, someone said they were recently at that establishment, and when they asked a member of the wait staff about the ham cubes on the salad bar, she said, we're not allowed to talk about them.
Oh, my God. You know what that means? He knows where I live, I think, and I live closer to him than... I'm in some trouble here. I know he's not as big as he used to be. He may come after my ass. Only because of the joke that you fucking made.
Well, but you allowed it. So I blame you. You're the adult in this situation. Yeah. When we were in New Orleans for WrestleMania, I know you couldn't go because you had baseball. But somebody came to one of mine and Bruce's sold out shows, #humblebrag, and they said, hey, I was at WrestleCon and I met Ham Cubes and I asked him to sign my picture, Ham Cubes, and he looked up and said, fuck Tony and that other guy.
That other guy. He didn't even know your name.
Yeah, he didn't even say my name. He just said Tony and that other guy. So I hope this isn't really why it ended.
Next thing I know, the Cherokee County School Board's going to be coming knocking at my door. And I have grandkids that go to Cherokee County schools.
If you have grandkids, you should really use better judgment than to do a show like this with me, don't you think?
Yes, I guess I should rethink my life.
So this is being added in post because you and I just went to see Andrew Dice Clay in 2018. Your thoughts?
Little Miss Muffet said on the top of it.
Can you believe that works in 2018? It's phenomenal.
And people were with me. It was the most vile, most disgusting stand-up comedy I've ever seen, and I loved every minute of it.
It feels a lot like something you and I could do. Like he is the stand-up version of our podcast.
I think it's very good. He could do a run in our podcast, and we'd pay him about $200.
Maybe we should rename the podcast What Happened When Little Miss Muffet Sat on Her Tuffet, right?
Exactly.
What was your favorite Diceism that we didn't hear tonight?
Little Boy Blue. He needed the money.
Oh! Well, we don't want to keep you distracted too long here, but we did want to at least mention the love that we got on pay-per-view. I feel pretty impressed, if I'm honest with you, because you had a sign at WrestleMania, and I had a sign at an Impact pay-per-view.
Conrad Thompson's impact during pro wrestling is being felt worldwide.
No, I was sort of doing a dig at myself that you got WrestleMania, and I got fucking Impact. Yeah. But
it's weak, Conrad. We're teammates.
Oh, I like it. And don't forget, LoisRules.com so we can pick up a shirt. By the way, we're having a lot of fun with a lot of these guys. JJ Dillon's podcast, if you love the old school Mid-Atlantic stuff, it's second to none. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, if you love the old school Mid-Atlantic stuff, and if you love to hear an old fuck talk.
And Dutch Mantel, sort of the same deal.
Yeah,
Dutch Mantel is one of the more... Dutch Mantel's entertaining reading a phone book.
Yes, he is. Dutch was a color guy for me on Worldwide for a little while.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a shame that he's with Matt Coon, but he's good.
One of Dutch Mantel's greatest lines on Worldwide was Ricky Morton. This was when Ricky and Robert cut a record. They actually, and the Crockett's were selling it. They had a record, Ricky Morton singing a song.
They sold dozens, I'm sure.
He said, and Dutch Mantel said on our show, he said, I like to announce that Ricky Morton's new hit single has now gone plywood. He said, not gold, not platinum, but plywood. I thought that was the greatest fucking line in the world.
By the way, we're talking over one of the best, like, loaded matches of all time as far as the Great Muta, once in a lifetime talent.
Right.
Steve Austin, once in a lifetime talent. Mm-hmm. Kenny Powers calling it right down the middle.
Yeah, without the mustache.
And Jump Rope Academy himself on the outside.
Exactly.
In fairness, how silly is Stone Cold Steve Austin being managed by Colonel Robert Parker?
Looking
one
back
of the greatest
right
talkers of all time.
Exactly.
I mean, charisma out the ass.
Right.
And somebody, the geniuses at WCW is like, well, I mean, what are we going to do with him? Let's give him Robert Parker.
Yeah, it's probably Ric Flair had a hand in that, don't you think?
Well, we're not going to disparage Pop. Okay, we're going to shit on Matt Coon. We're going to roll tape on that.
I heard Pop was on the Tonight Show recently.
He was, and I'll tell you about it after I pee.
Okay.
I've been drinking.
Okay, so
water.
All right. So there he goes. Conrad Thompson is going to take a piss, and Cassio's joining. Hey, Cassio.
How's it going, Tony?
Good. You're not getting paid for this, but talk with me.
I'm getting paid as much as you are, right?
That's exactly right. So, growing up a kid, where'd you grow up?
Alabama.
Of course you did. Growing up a kid in Alabama, what did you think of the Great Muta?
I didn't know who he was.
That's what I figured. Fuck. Thank you very much for that. So I might as well just resort to calling the action. No, can I ask you something? Every time I come to the Conradison, you're here.
Yeah.
Do you even know who Conrad Thompson is?
No, but he's got a killer basement that I've just moved into, basically. Basically squatting. I'm basically squatting.
Actually, that's what he's doing right now. Okay, into the ropes. There's the drop kick. He missed the drop kick. I always wonder, Cassio, that when they miss drop kicks, why did it hurt more than when they connected a drop kick? Because they still fall on the mat, right?
Hey, that's a good point.
Yeah, I always thought that was a kind of a shitty thing. Here's our cover, and we got a 2 count that time. Going to try to cover him again. But you know, Cassio, technically you need to hook the far leg, and there he did it right there.
Does he have Spider-Man wristbands? Those look like Spider-Man wristbands.
No, that in Japanese means, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm not getting much of paid.
Cassio, if you'd like to hook up, I got a mic over here.
I asked him, did he knew what he thought about Muta growing up. He said he didn't know him.
Well, Cassio was a WWF guy. Cassio was a little Hulkamaniac, a little Ultimate Warrior, a little Andre the Giant.
Really?
Little Mean Gene.
And he's also an Auburn guy, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
We don't get along on much.
Well, I understand that. You know, when they interview a coach at Auburn, they ask, have you ever cheated? And if he says no, he said, you want to learn how? Okay. I just thought they'd throw that out. That's pretty. Well, don't you think that's pretty well known, the SEC?
I mean, if they were cheating, they'd win more. You know what I mean? So,
okay. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. I can't believe this is real. This is exactly what Dave Meltzer put in the Observer. You ready to get fired up here?
Oh, boy.
Steve Austin retained the U.S. title with a disqualification win over Great Muta. Parentheses, KG, I go to America, take steroids, get big. Muto. In 16 minutes and 29 seconds. These two had no chance after the previous match to take the crowd down, so they mainly did mat work for the first 10 minutes, with Muta doing a few hot spots in between. Solid match, but probably didn't meet expectations going in. 2 3/4 stars. I don't know. I mean, I know that Dave Meltzer is sort of tongue-in-cheek with a lot of this, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, the assessment that everybody was taking steroids and calling guys out in the newsletter like this, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, DM, Dave Meltzer is like BM. They're both full of shit. Okay? And he should never say anything like this. I mean,
can I just tell you that I did something that I almost never do this week?
Yes, go ahead.
I DM'd Dave Meltzer.
Did you really?
I did.
Okay.
And here's why. I feel like Dave Meltzer's a big part of my life right now. Like, we don't really talk. I mean, occasionally we'll like tweet each other or whatever, but we don't ever talk. And I talk about his show every Monday with you, and I talk about him every Friday with Bruce. And I don't have anybody who's that a part of my life that I just don't speak to at all. So I DM'd him and said, hey, not to be weird, but we should call every now and again. We should talk, so he knows that, we're trying to put on a show.
Fuck him.
Yeah.
Don't DM him again.
I thought you might say that. Can we call him right now?
You got his number?
Of course I do.
Okay, call him. And when he answers, I'll say, yeah, and fuck Dave. Oh, hey, Dave.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
I mean, the same way you did about, you're a sellout, you're a sellout, you're a sellout. I'm trying to get you on the network. Subscribe now.
Hello.
Only $9.99.
Hello, Paul. I love you.
Yeah.
Okay,
By the way, Paul does not fucking like that we're on the network.
Really?
I mean, I feel pretty confident with that. Yeah. I mean, I've spent the entire run of Bruce's show shitting on. Look at that. Backdrop over the top.
Oh, boy.
Muta is suspended.
Yeah.
Or maybe not suspended, but at least disqualified. You could call it suspended because he flew over for this match only, Tony. Nothing else.
Yes, but he's going to splash both of them. Great job that time. At least get a little bit out of it. And, okay, the great fucking Muta. See you. Next. Well, look,
let me ask you this. The reason I bring this up, and I keep talking about it over and over and over.
You really DM Dave Meltzer?
Absolutely. I'll read it to you in a minute.
Okay.
They only come over for just the one match.
Yeah.
And the rumor and innuendo at the time is that Muta was supposed to be maybe coming over to take on Flair. Of course, that's not the case, and it comes over here. Obviously, they had a good relationship with New Japan, but why do you think that Muta just comes over for one match? I mean, do you think the original intention was for it to be Flair and Muta?
No, the original intention was for Muta to come over for one match. That's what it was. That was part of the deal that they had. The deal that they had was, if we want to keep sending guys over there, we need to keep taking some of their talent over here. So we had an opening, bring him over for one match.
Let me ask you this. Heading into this match, Austin and Steamboat wrestled in a number one contenders match on WCW Saturday night, and the winner got a shot at Flair's title on this pay-per-view. Well, in the middle of the match, for no reason, Colonel Parker calls the DQ. And that finish to me just makes no psychological sense. I mean, why would you ruin it for your own guy? Can you chat me up about that?
Yeah, no, I can't chat you up about that. I don't know why that happened either. There are a lot of things that logic. Whoa, wait a second. We're going to check with the natural Dustin Rhodes here. Dustin, a couple of things I need to ask you. First of all, I'm not going to get into this Gene Okerlund, do I have a kidney shit, because look over my left shoulder. It's in this Halliburton case, and we'll hand it to him and stick it up his ass here in just a few moments. But my question to you, Dustin Rhodes, the natural, is, would you ever wear polka dots? Would you? Your old fucking man wore polka dots. Would you ever wear polka dots? That's what I'd like to ask you, and I have no idea why I'm here holding the microphone. I should be doing some commentary. Let's take a look one more time at what happened recently on WCW Saturday night in that shithole called Center Stage. Here comes Bunkhouse Buck with a trophy, just laying it in to the natural Dustin Rhodes, and Colonel Robert Parker still with that briefcase over on the side. And oh my God, is that the Godwins on the outside as well? I guess it was the Godwins on the outside. Let me tell you this, I would never wear polka dots, but I might dress up as a transvestite. That gets me excited. I'll do anything for money, like you motherfuckers would, because you're on the WWE Network. Conrad Thompson, Bruce Pritchard, sell out motherfuckers. Look at my shirt. Texas. Yes, sir. We used to have a good football team, but we ain't worth shit anymore. All right, there you go. That's from the natural Dustin Rhodes, who said he'd never wear polka dots. Let's go back to the ring. 3, 2, 1. Let's go back to the ring, I said. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go back to the ring. Jesse was never good on his cues.
Let me just say, Mean Gene should have been doing this.
Yes. Absolutely.
All right, this is a big moment here. I don't know that you've even processed this. Do you know why this match is about to be significant right here?
Yeah, I do. This is the last international world title match we've ever had.
Keep going.
Okay. I don't know.
This is it for Rick Rude, man. Rick Rude's going to have his fucking back broken not too long after this in Japan by Sting. And this is the last time we're going to see Rick Rude strutting that ass on WCW pay-per-view.
And that is unfortunate.
Fucking shame.
Because, and I'm watching this match, just kind of soaking it in, thinking as I'm watching it, he was one hell of a performer, buddy.
Unbelievable.
He was a great heel.
I think you would say top 10 most underrated
Yes,
for sure.
Yes. Listen, and I know since you've got an in now, I think Rick Rude should be considered for the Hall of Fame.
He's in.
Well, then there you go.
You did it.
I know fucking more than I thought. No.
Good job. Thank
you very much.
You did it.
I did. I got him in. You know, the last time I saw Rick Rude?
Probably before he died.
I saw him in his casket.
What?
Yeah, I did.
You went to the funeral?
Yeah.
I mean,
and I walked in, and I had been told, I don't know if you heard this story, and you can talk to Eric about this. I had been told that Eric went to the funeral, and Rick's wife had him removed because I don't believe that story.
That's a shame.
Okay. I don't believe that story that anybody would ever do that, but I heard that. So I show up, and Barry Darso meets me at the door. He said, hey, thank you. All the Minnesota guys are there. Thank you very much for coming. He said, you want to come over and see Rick? And I went, no, I don't want to see a stiff in a casket.
It's weird.
It is weird.
I don't like
and he
it.
said, come on, I want you. He said, you need to respect the family because they were all in there. And I promise you, and I'm not trying to be funny. I know we try to be irreverent on this show, but I looked at Rick in the casket, okay, and he had a green tint to him in the casket. And unfortunately, for me,
that's your memory.
That's my memory of Rick Rude every time I see him. And I think about how, when I looked at him in the casket, think about how great a performer he was, how he could talk, how he could bump, how he could work. I wish I'd never looked in that casket. All right. So anyway.
Way to bring us down.
Yeah, thank you very much. You're welcome.
I'm going to start drinking now. Hey, so let's talk about Rick Rude here. Now, I guess we should mention that Harley Race is out here. And Harley Race, of course, is out here on behalf of Vader. And the situation is he's trying to challenge and say that, hey, whoever wins this, they've got a date with Big Van Vader.
Right. And so I understand that. And now he tries to take part in Sting, take him down, and boom, Sting retaliates. And this is also going to be a precursor to the finish of this match.
I mean, what a bump from Harley Race at a time when you think he's way too old to be doing that, and he still did it.
Anybody who knows anything about Harley Race knows, wow, great back body drop, knows he is one of the toughest men that ever walked God's green earth. God's green earth. That's right.
So let me recommend that everybody go watch this match, too.
Yeah.
I know that we're really doing a sell job. Look at that.
Yeah.
A suplex onto the floor from Sting to Ravishing Rick Rude, knowing what we know is going to happen very soon.
Right.
It's a shame. But You've got to watch this, in my opinion, just to pay homage to Ravishing Rick Rude, who I do believe is one of the more underrated performers. And I know, great friend of the show, Pop, he felt like, Rick Rude was obviously having some substance troubles at different points in his life. And maybe, he was not in the best position to be a good performer here. But as someone who was buying tickets and on the other side of the barricade, I thought Rick Rude had one of the best heel personas of all time. A great physique, a great look. He sold everything, and he looked like an alpha male. He looked like a guy you wanted to hate. He looked like a badass. I mean, he had the look of everything you wanted in a professional wrestler.
Had great facial expressions. You talked about selling, and he could sell. There was no question. But he also, when he was on the offense, he had great facial expressions as well. Now we have one of the dumbest son of a bitches ever. I know he's dead. But Nick Bockwinkel, to our right, there with us.
Why did you hate Nick?
I don't hate Nick. He was just Nick's persona was being the
classy,
the very intelligent champion.
Yeah,
he wasn't that at all.
He was like Matt Coon level.
Yeah, that's right. He exactly what he was. And Heenan used to always say that stupid son of a bitch. He called him that all the time.
Now, according to the rumor and innuendo, Nick used to be pretty tight with Bobby back in the day.
Right. Well, as you know, Bobby shit on everybody.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
Including you.
And boy, big time, apparently.
I wish that Bobby was here and he could shit on me now.
Well, don't worry. There'll be plenty of people shitting on you before this is all over.
Oh, they already are on the WWE Network.
Whoa.
Okay. Hey, so Sting here. This is not my favorite era Sting. I did prefer Sting in like 90 and maybe 91, 92. But by this point, I was sort of done with this Sting.
Okay. All right. So what is the difference between Sting that you liked and this Sting?
I'm just saying it felt a little fucking old.
Okay.
I needed a little more than just, ow!
Okay, so see that what, Cassio, here's a little education about pro wrestling, okay? Shit gets old quickly in pro wrestling. It does. You gotta keep moving. And here's what I want to say, that I appreciate everybody who gave me a great response for MLW Fusion, okay? But 2 years from now, they're going to say, let's get that fat fucker off TV.
They are.
Yeah. So I do understand that's the way it is.
That's why you got to get a big contract out of court now.
That's right. Get as much money as I can because pretty soon they're going to have
we need you to tweet at MLW, give Tony Schiavone a big contract.
I don't need a big contract. I just need big money.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I don't mean many years. Okay. You're fucking 70. You ain't got many years. You got to make the most of what
you're going to be my age one time. I'm going to be around.
I'm too fat to live to your age. This is not happening.
Okay. Another great referee, Randy Anderson, in there, and it's amazing, isn't it?
It's depressing when you think about two of the three.
Yeah,
no longer with us.
And then Heenan and Bockwinkel no longer with us down the ringside area.
It's just you and Sting.
Just me and Sting.
She stands alone.
Exactly. And Linda Rufio.
2 out of 5 ain't bad. Or 6.
I want you. I need you. Ain't no way I'm ever gonna love you, but don't be sad.
Don't be sad.
'Cause 3 out of 5 ain't bad. Thank you.
Well, there's only 2 of you, and there's 6 of you. We're not really doing good math over here.
I don't know. But Cassie is a hell of a backup singer. I know that.
But we do at SaveCade.com. We haven't talked about that here on the show.
No, we haven't.
But SaveCade is really something that we sort of freestyled almost as a spinoff of Save with Bruce, where if people want to save money on their mortgage, their home loans, get rid of some credit card debt and whatnot, they could do that at SaveCade.com, and you had a blast doing that.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, and I saw the video that you go to SaveCade.com, you'll see that video. Just absolutely great shit. I was really proud to be a part of it. I really
Lois is there. We've got the Tom Zink song.
Yeah.
We've got Phantom of the Opera does a run-in.
Wow.
Great stuff over at SaveCade.com. Check it out if you haven't already. We can get you in a brand new house for no money down. We can also help you get rid of all your credit card debt, get a cheaper monthly payment, get out of debt faster, retire on time, whatever you're looking for at NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender, SaveCade.com. Not Starcade, SaveCade. That's SAVECADE. And you'll see Tony and I there. And who better to help you save money than Tony and I?
Go right to the SaveCade Control Center and you can save money. Meanwhile, Johnny B. Bad's glitter is all over Rick Rude right now still, so it's still hanging around. Rude just does some good shit, man. He just watch. Look at his face, his facial expressions while he's laying in the offense as well. Look, he's just great forearm blows, nice belly to back pickup, and he just absolutely loved him. You know, I knew Rick when I first started working. And with Crockett Promotions, Rick Rude and Manny Fernandez were world tag team champions.
Really?
That's how long ago that was.
I think he kept one of those belts, believe it or not.
Did he?
I guess it's worth mentioning. We just passed like the 19-year anniversary of Rick Rude's passing, which
Oh my God,
is a
19
real
years?
shame. Yeah.
Wow.
Let's talk about the injury. I know a lot of people sort of gloss over that with this pay-per-view, but I mean, this is really the last time we get to see him on the big stage here, because this injury with Sting, they're working a match over in Japan, happened there, and it happened on May 1st. So as a reminder, we're in April.
Yeah, 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks out. Just
Yeah,
basically.
well, not very far at all. And Rick defeated Sting in that match to regain the title, because Sting is going to come away victorious. There's a 20-something-year-old spoiler for you. But during the match, Rick's on the outside. Sting does the body press, and it goes over the top rope, and his back hits on the edge of a raised platform. A lot of those matches in Japan had the ring up on a platform.
Right.
Rick somehow toughs it out and is able to finish the match, but then he's forced to retire, and he never has another match. And according to the legend, he never really forgave Sting for it. Did you ever have a conversation with Rude about that injury?
No, not at all. I did not.
It really is a shame. And I guess we should mention here that the title wound up being stripped from Rude, and it was decided at Slamboree when Sting would beat Vader to win that title.
Right.
So that's sort of how they get out of it. At the next pay-per-view, Sting and Vader battle for this belt, but really it should have been Rude in there, and unfortunately it wasn't.
Wow.
It's fucking depressing, man, talking about Rick Rude here, especially when you sort of giving your casket story.
Well, I love how he reacts to the fans. I love how you would say, cut the music. I loved whatever he did, man. Look at him do it. He's twerking.
Let me ask you this.
Wow.
Before twerking was a thing, right?
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
Hulk Hogan's going to be in the company not too long after this, and those guys never really had a feud together. I mean, they had a couple of matches here or there. I know there's one on a DVD where Rude wrestles Hogan in the Boston Gardens. But Hogan, according to Ric Flair, was never comfortable doing business with Rude. He felt like Rude couldn't be trusted, or maybe Rude had some addiction problems or whatever. There was some sort of personality, I don't know, situation between the two. Do you think that maybe, and this is just freestyling, do you think there's a possibility that had he not been injured, Hogan and Rude may have had that feud here in WCW that they didn't have in the WWF?
I think that's a good assessment. I think that would have worked out. I don't understand why Hogan may, and I know we're freestyling, Hogan may not have trusted Rude. Maybe addiction problems was a concern.
One of the boys once upon a time, when I was having a conversation, and I don't name names because I don't want them to feel like I'm speaking out of turn, but somebody said, "Oh, Rude was one of the biggest drug addicts in the history of our business."
Really?
And I sort of tilted my head, almost like a dog hearing Andy Griffith, like, I don't know about that. I mean, and he said that he was always so high strung about everything that he'd be calling spots through gritted teeth, in the match. So he'd be like, "Fucking shoulder tackle." And he was just on edge about everything.
Right.
And a lot of guys maybe attributed that
To being high?
to being on having some pharmaceutical assistance, that maybe he just wasn't all the way there based on some other things. Did you have any experience with him being really that high strung?
No. He was always, the Rick Rude I knew was completely the other way.
Right.
Was almost like he was on downers.
It's weird. It's almost like it feels like there's a tale of two Rudes.
Right.
It's almost depending on who you ask. You get one story from Flair, you get another from other guys. It's interesting.
We went to his house to do an interview with him.
He's in Warner Robins, right?
Who?
Rude.
No, he had.
He was in Georgia at that time.
He was in Georgia at that time. We went to his house, and I cannot line up the date when it was, But we went to his house to do an interview with him, and he dressed up for the interview, and he had his wife have hors d'oeuvres and everything for us. And we did the interview, and he was so dead set on getting the interview right. We did it over and over and over again. And he wasn't obnoxious about it, but he just wanted to get it right. And I thought he was really professional about it. And I really had a lot of time for him because of that one interview. Now, where it ever aired, I don't know. Maybe it was back when I was doing those one-on-one interviews.
Right.
That Dave Meltzer loved. And
he put him over.
Well, I know he did. You know why, don't you? Because I wasn't doing play-by-play. That's why he put him over.
Well,
keep Schiavone out of the play-by-play chair. Let's make sure he does a good job here.
I think you're taking a lot of it too personally. You know, I'm DMing Dave these days.
Okay.
And, he doesn't shit
Tell him
on
to
me.
DM me. But yeah, you can see that Rick did a lot of gritting his teeth.
Stinger splash.
Whoa! Down goes the referee.
Down goes Randy Anderson.
Mm-hmm. And so Sting looks, but why not? The referee's down. I might as well put the Stinger splash on him, right? Because what the fuck? Come on. And now Randy, come on, wake up! Wake up! What the fuck? You're not in Rome, Georgia, and you're not an Orkin dealer anymore. Come on, let's go. Come on. Oh. Here it goes down from God's green earth. Whoa! Back body drop. And we're getting ready to see the big motherfucker come in, and he was fucking awesome. Fuck. I just absolutely loved Vader.
Can I tell you, did you ever see anything with CM Punk? Have you heard of him? Do you know about CM Punk?
Yeah.
Okay.
I met him a couple of years ago, right before he left the WWE.
Okay.
He was in Atlanta, and he was doing a radio show.
He was at the station where you were.
At the station, yeah, and I talked to him. So, yeah. One of the great old school talkers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he had back when he was on the Indies, before he made it big, he had an opportunity to meet Harley Race.
Uh-huh.
And Harley Race, apparently, in conversation, was talking about that fucking quote-unquote Indian goof. And it took CM Punk several minutes to figure out who he meant. Did he mean Wahoo?
Uh-huh.
Did he mean Strongbow? Who
Right.
did he mean? Harley Race called an Indian goof. That was his way of referring to the Ultimate Warrior, which to me was a mind-blowing deal. Mostly because I never put together that the Ultimate Warrior was an Indian gimmick.
Right. I never did either.
But it is.
It is an Indian gimmick.
How did we not see that? But God's green earth did. After he delivers the world's worst chair shot.
Exactly.
Harley Race, known as being one of the stiffest motherfuckers ever,
Right.
did not want to tear up the franchise there. So he pity pats on Sting, but Sting's back is somehow bloody because, well, it's Harley Race.
Fans really popped for the changing of the guard, and I always thought it was interesting calling it the International World Title.
Well, let me just say this. I know
Okay.
I'm biased. I know I'm biased. But this big gold belt here, this is the real world's title. Of
course it
and
is.
what Sting and Steamboat are fighting for later pales in comparison.
Sure. You say that because you own this thing, right?
Well, roll tide.
Okay, see? See, I know. I understand. He's on the WWE Network. He owns the big gold belt. You've done it all, my friend. You've done it all. You're not even 40. Not even close. Woo! There he is. Sting. And he has the belt turned upside down, dumb fuck. All right. We're going to take a look at a replay. Where are we going to now? 3, 2, 1. Let's take a look at the replay once again. You see Randy Anderson gets sandwiched. He looks, make sure Sting is coming. Sting is coming. Oh! Head on head. Down goes a little goof from Rome, Georgia. Sting gets bloodied. Rude gets bloodied. And Sting is going to get the win. Get out of here, you motherfucker. And 1, 2, 3. I think I'm getting better in calling replays now.
I guess I should mention here, they go 13 minutes, 9 seconds, and Meltzer would write, Harley Race came out before the match so Vader could challenge the winner, which is funny since Vader is actually going to wrestle the loser.
Yeah.
The finish was just as awful as far as the execution, but it didn't seem to matter to the crowd. Rude was supposed to do the try for the Rude Awakening, and Race would come in, go to hit Sting with a chair. Sting would fall, and Rude would go get the blow and get pinned, which is what happened. The only problem was that or Race rather, couldn't find a chair and was completely out of position when Rude went for the move. So Rude had to do a 10-second freeze waiting, and Harley was still looking for a chair, let alone getting in a position for the finish. So there you go.
Yeah.
Dave didn't like it. We saw that stalled Rude Awakening that never really happened. Only 2 stars here. We're going to see a promo in the back in a few minutes, including a towel-clad Jerry Sags, which I can't wait for you to see. How bad was that finish fucking botched?
Yeah, that finish was botched, but you know what? The fans bought it. They did.
They were happy with the ending. They wanted their baby face to be champion again. Sting, as tired as I may have been with him, the fans were not. And there's Aaron Neville.
Yeah, just
chilling ringside. Maybe that's why Harley couldn't find a chair, because Aaron Neville's ass was in it.
You're exactly right. Aaron said, I want to go to ringside. We said, fuck, you're Aaron Neville. Go on to ringside. Why not? He just sit down there. We never put headphones on him or anything like that. And now here comes Bunkhouse Buck and Colonel Robert Parker.
What does Bunkhouse Buck do in real life in 2018, do you think?
Wow. He may be working at a Jiffy Lube. I don't know. Could be. Shit, he may be a fucking millionaire. I don't know. What's he doing?
I don't know. I thought you knew everything.
No, I don't. Obviously, I don't know everything. There's a lot of KFC signs out there. I guess that's why they were directing their angst at Robert Parker. You see KFC sign over on the left. There's a KFC bucket, you see? So my question is that everybody's playing the Colonel on TV.
Including Ric Flair.
Right. Why can't Robert Parker play?
Because he's not a star. But he will be after he's on BN Sports with MLW.
That's MLW Fusion.
I'm just saying, in your head, they're going to go Reba McEntire, Ric Flair, Daryl Hammond. Oh, he's not. He's dead.
Yeah.
Almost as dead as Colonel Robert Parker.
Watch him shoot in the ring here. Watch this. I love this beginning. Wow. Some good shit, man. Listen, this is why, as we're watching this right now and watching what Dustin can do, this is why I really had a real problem with Goldust. And I know Goldust became a legendary character, right? I understand that. But Dustin Rhodes could fucking work.
Well, but Goldust could work too. It's the same guy underneath. It's just a gimmick. It got him attention. And here's the other thing. I don't know that you've ever talked about this, but let me tell you this. I really do mean this. To me, you'd want to be the wrestler who had the most gimmicks is the most opportunity for merchandise, is it not?
Yes.
If he starts doing his paint different, now they got to have new figures. They got to have new masks. They got to have new doll. Like, to me, it affords you more opportunity if you do have gimmicks. And I know some of the greatest wrestlers of all time didn't have gimmicks, quote unquote. Do you know how many fucking Ric Flair action figures there are? And do you know why? Because they put a different robe on them. So if you buy a figure with a blue robe, well, now you need the one with the red. Now you need the one with the pink. Now you need the one with the black. And now you need the one with the white. I know guys who have 25 fucking Ric Flair dolls. And do you know how many Hulk Hogan's ones they got? 2. One in yellow, one in black. Wow. So really and truly, in a weird way, having all these extra gimmicks really helps the merchandise aspect.
And that line of thinking, my friend, is why you're a millionaire. And my line of thinking is why I'm married to Lois Schiavone. So there's the difference between you and me. Good decisions, forethought,
hey,
bad decisions, 38 years later, fucking stuck.
Megan is, Cassio's going to do my wedding. Did you know that?
What are you going to be, the preacher?
Cassio's ordained.
You're ordained? Yeah. Well, of course. If Bruce Pritchard's ordained, anybody's ordained. Fuck.
I mean, I'm ordained too.
Well, why not?
I could have done your daughter's wedding.
Why? Ooh, damn.
I'd have been free too.
Okay, so
here's my pitch.
You really gonna do his wedding?
Yeah.
Wow.
I asked him and he agreed.
You gonna throw a motherfucker in there?
He's wearing the low-key Big Hog shirt during the ceremony. By the way, this is worth mentioning. The other night, Foley was in town. We went to see him, and Cassio wore the low-key Big Hog shirt, and he got a picture with Foley and posted it online. So there's a picture of Foley and Cassio somewhere on Twitter with a low-key Big Hog shirt.
Oh, I see it right now. Oh, very good.
I'm not a good Christmas gift giver, but low-key Big Hog's a fucking great shirt.
Yes, it is.
LoisRules.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at Colonel Robert Parker choking Goldust here. Now, he's doing it with a handkerchief, not with the jump rope.
Right.
Kendo stick, really getting popular in ECW at the time with the Sandman character.
Yeah.
And I guess ECW started calling it a Singapore cane, and you remember why, I'm sure.
Yes, because of the kid that got caned in Singapore.
Yep.
But I called it on this show, I called it a 1x2.
I called it a 1x2.
A 1x2.
You're a fucking idiot. Hey, so let me ask you
But
this.
it was a 1x2.
We got lots of feedback on our ECW watch along. I mean, tons of haters beforehand saying, "Why are you watching this? Tony wasn't there." And I'm like, fuck, dude, you listened to 19 WrestleMania podcasts and none of those sons of bitches were there. What does it matter? We're having fun. What are you talking
exactly.
about?
Right.
So then afterwards, everybody's like, God damn, do more of that. That was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So it was great feedback. But one of the things that people really were hot at you about is when you said you'd never seen a Sandman match. And I was like, he hasn't.
Right.
And they were like, well, he wrestled as Hardcore Hack at WCW. And I'm like, that's not the same thing.
Exactly.
That's like saying, I met Clark Kent. Well, you didn't meet Superman.
Exactly.
I mean, one guy has the badass entrance, the cigarettes, the beer, the music. The other guy has a fucking cane and a T-shirt.
Exactly.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. And I saw that same thing. Well, you don't remember you saw Hardcore Hack. I remember saw Hardcore Hack.
Of course. It's not
but
the
he
same.
didn't have the Sandman entrance.
No. Or the cigarettes.
Or
the beer.
All that shit. Yeah. So, again, if you're splitting hairs with that, you got nothing. Delete your Twitter account.
Speaking
Do me a favor.
of splitting
Delete it.
hairs, not only did we hear from her husband, but we heard from Francine herself.
Oh, come on, Francine. I swear. You make me obscene.
Are you okay?
There's something about Francine. If you take all the girls who have been, all the ladies who have been in wrestling, there was just something about her.
Cranks your tractor?
I can't put my finger on it.
But you'd like to.
I'm not saying that. No, she's a married woman. I wouldn't say things like
No,
that.
but, I mean, if you're her celebrity hall pass, I'm using the word celebrity very loosely, but
She's just something about her that I was just
enamored with.
Yeah, really.
Well, I have it on good authority that we're sending her a shirt.
Okay.
And she's going to send you a shirt. She actually is selling shirts now over at ProWrestlingTees.com.
Good for her.
And she's recovering from a little surgery. I don't know if it was bigger implants or smaller or what.
Okay.
Or maybe it's not even implants, but for the purposes of our story, it is.
Okay.
And one of her shirts is a shirt that says Booby Club.
Wow.
Not Bullet Club, Booby Club.
Okay.
And not Austin 316, Francine 469. So those shirts are coming your way.
Oh, God bless you, Francine.
And normally what we do is whenever somebody buys a shirt at loisrules.com, you actually personally call and thank them. With permission. She's ripping our gimmick off. And so now when you buy a Francine shirt, she will call and thank you. So here's what you have coming. Francine's going to call you.
Oh, good. Woo! Woo!
And I'm going to work it out sometime in the next coming weeks. Last week, we had our very first guest on the show, the fellow who brought on the Lois Rules sign to WrestleMania. We got great feedback from that. So in a few weeks, you're going to hear Francine calling and thanking you for your T-shirt purchase. I mean, I bought it with my WWE Network money, but still.
Well, you got plenty of money.
Are you going to be able to wear your Booby Club shirt around the house?
I might wear Francine 469 around the house.
Lois won't know what that is.
No, she has no idea.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Doug Gustafson, and we are from Columbus, Ohio. First learned of Conrad through his podcast network. I'm a big 83 Weeks fan. Probably got into a little bit more credit card debt than what we wanted to during the course of the pandemic. We wanted to get rid of some of that. My wife and I had luckily bought the house many years ago and had quite a bit of equity built up in it. We are looking to actually redo our bathroom, things around the house that we wanted to do with the other equity that we have left over. We've been talking about refinancing forever, and I finally just took the plunge and called the number, got a hold of him, and from start to finish, it was just fantastic. I had Diane within the day. The communication with her was fantastic. The process moved quicker than I could have ever hoped. My name's Doug Gustafson from Columbus, Ohio. I ended up saving $800 a month with Save with Conrad, and am able to also update our bathroom.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.
She'll think that was the year she was born or something.
No, Lois was born a long time before that.
No, I mean Francine.
Oh, Francine, yeah. Well, one thing I can say to that is to-ra, 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 hey.
I have no idea what y'all are doing right now.
Come on, Francine. Oh, okay, right, thank you. Oh, man, just something about her. So where are we here in this match?
Dustin Rhodes is bleeding like a stuck pig.
Wow. See?
And Bunkhouse Buck is whipping the shit out of him. By the way, Bunkhouse Buck looks like he could be Randy Owens' uncle. I feel like Bunkhouse Buck is from Fife, Alabama.
Fife, Alabama.
He's on his way to trade day. He's been in the sock mill all day. He's ready to go buy some rabbits and eat a little red eye gravy, some cat head biscuits.
This is all kinds of Alabama shit coming out here now.
Country ham.
Okay.
Some sawmill gravy.
Right. I know what red
Lots
eye
of gravy.
Yeah. What is sawmill gravy? Is that
It's like white gravy with pepper in it.
right? It's kind of like sausage gravy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think up north they call it something. Y'all make it with fucking powder up there in Pennsylvania or wherever the shit you live.
I live in Georgia. Go fucking dogs. How's that
But
sound?
you used to be
Okay.
you used to be Yankee.
Yeah.
There's no like natural born Schiavones in Georgia.
No, none in the South at all. We were all transplanted to the South.
Of course you are.
Yeah.
And we're allowing you to be here.
Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. So great. You know, this is another hell of a match.
Listen,
It
I'm
really
gonna tell
is.
you what I've always had an irrational hate for Bunkhouse Buck.
Yeah.
And I know Jimmy Golden is a great performer, and a lot of people like him and grew up with him doing a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I got nothing fucking for him. I don't know why I don't like him.
Really?
I can't put my finger on it. It's an irrational hate, dude.
Yeah, it is because
I got no reason. He's done nothing to me.
No,
He
he should-
puts on good matches.
Yes, he does.
He's a hell of a worker.
Yes, and
but
it's
I want him off my fucking TV.
and not only that, it's a hell of a gimmick. This Bunkhouse Buck
I
is a hell of
fucking
a
hate
gimmick.
it. That's what it is. I don't hate him as a performer. I hate this goddamn character so much.
Really?
I hate
You need
Bunkhouse
to,
Buck so much.
gosh, you need to get over it.
By the way,
You
I
need to
do
go to
love
therapy
Dustin
for this.
Rhodes. I feel like I should mention that I do love Dustin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And you know what else Dustin likes? SaveCade.com. Have I mentioned this? That I helped get Dustin into a mortgage?
No, really?
Yeah, Dustin and his family bought a house a couple years back. And,
Great.
Roll Tide. I was their Huckleberry.
SaveKate.com, SaveKate.com. Let me tell you why it's so easy to apply. SaveKate.com, SaveKate.com. Get us on the network quickly so I can pay off my debt. Okay, there, moved out of the way. I liked Jimmy Golden. I liked a lot of his shit. I really did. Liked him. What's he doing now? Is
What
he
was that
alive?
noise? Did you hear that?
I did too.
What was that?
Is there somebody else in the Conradison here that we don't know about?
Not that I know of.
You never know. This place is so big. Could be a guy been stuck back there for a couple
By
of
the
months.
way, you know, Jimmy Golden, 67 years old now.
Wow.
Tennessee native. In 2010, you may have seen him as Jack Swagger Sr. His cousins are Robert and Ron Fuller. So a lot of people may not realize that, but that's his cousin out there with the jump rope right now.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff, man. But Dustin Dustin was always just a tremendous worker. Robert Parker waving that hanky around. And now they're getting ready to open up Jimmy Golden here. There you go. Clink, down, saw. Get up, a little blood on the face.
Listen, a lot of people are not comfortable talking about this, but I just want to ask, when was the first time you saw a blade in wrestling?
Starcade 83.
Like you saw guys making it in the back?
No, I saw a guy give a guy a blade job in the ring.
You witnessed it happen.
I witnessed,
So you had not ever noticed it before then, but
No.
that's when you realized, no, that's how they do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And your understanding of it is they take a razor, cut it in half, put a little tape around the one end, and then get to business on the other end?
That's how it happened normally. I think some guys did it differently. Some guys stuck it. They would have tape around their wrist.
And they'd peel it back a little bit.
They peel it back a little bit and they pull it out. Some guys would have it stuck in their finger. Like I think Flair had it stuck.
Flair had it in his finger. The tape around the fingers that you always
tape
saw.
around the fingers.
Some guys will put it in their lip.
I was getting ready to say Tully Blanchard put it in his lip. He had a little edge tape.
So when we're saying in the lip, what we mean is like between your gum and your lip,
Like a dip.
on the front of your face, exactly like a dip.
Right.
Great analogy.
And they would just pull it out and put it back in.
Yeah.
And I've seen Tully drop his blade and Tommy Young pick it up and stick it in his
Sure.
So because they were all teams.
But back then it was so. I mean, it was very much a thing that was like closed off. You didn't talk about it.
No. But what I remember, and of course, Starcade '83 was my first event.
Right.
And you watch they did a gimmick at the end of the Kevin Sullivan Mark Lewin match where they took the golden spike, and Gary Hart was there, and they hit Scott McGee with the golden spike.
And he bled like a motherfucker.
And if you watch that, it was apparently Scott McGee's first blade job.
Kevin did it for him, did he not?
That's right. The old thing was back then, if you've never done a blade job,
we'll do it for you.
They were going to do it for you because they wanted you to do it, and they thought you'd chicken out if you were going to do it yourself. So they would do. And if you watch that match, Kevin, I don't know how big of a blade or how he takes it and just rakes it across his forehead. And I saw it happen. I'm thinking, holy shit, he just cut him fucking wide open. And the way the camera shot was, and the way it happened was the most grotesque blade job I've ever seen, and it's the first blade job I'd ever noticed. So go back and watch that on the network. And
for only $9.99.
$9.99. Go and watch the end of that match.
All right, here is Dustin Rhodes just unloading the elbows on Bunkhouse Buck. And I got to tell you, this is believable because in the UFC right now, like that will cut a dude like nobody's business. Now, they don't normally do the flip, flop, and fly before the last one.
Right.
But still, those elbows are known to cut a dude wide open.
Absolutely. So Dustin will go for his bulldog. Fans are kind of into this with him. And they're into the blood. They're into the gore that's going on right now. And what the hell? And now Colonel Parker is up. Colonel Parker been known to take a pretty good bump as well. That's there. Robert Fuller, good guy. He do a lot of stuff. I'm glad he's back in wrestling. I'm glad he's back in MLW.
MLW Fusion. Available now on BN Sports.
8 o'clock on Friday nights for 1 hour. And you know what I like about that?
It's an hour.
It's a fucking hour.
It's
Absolutely.
digestible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
exactly right.
You can enjoy it, move on to your next thing.
Right.
It doesn't have to take over your whole night.
Right.
And what's great about it, too, is you can DVR it.
Right. And watch the whole thing after you DVR it instead of like when you record Raw, you watch it and you fast forward through the matches and get to the interviews.
No, I didn't do that because here's why I didn't do it.
Because you work for the WWE now.
Well, no, I fast forward through on SmackDown. I'm not saying that. I was saying I didn't fast forward through MLW, and the reason I didn't fast forward is because I was curious. Hey, what's the production values of this thing going to be? 'Cause
right.
We've seen so many independents that really just sort of aren't up to snuff. I'm going to tell you that MLW production to me was on the level with Ring of Honor or anything else.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Court has done a phenomenal job with everything except picking Rich Bukini. You know?
Stop.
No, listen.
Leave Rich alone. Rich, a good kid.
We're friends.
Okay.
Like, it's funny that so many people think that I hate JJ and Rich. I'm trying to give their show the rub. They're trying to build an audience. I listen every week. Yeah. They're good guys. Rich is a hard worker, and JJ is a phenomenal storyteller.
Yeah, but the problem is JJ's 85 and Rich is 2'1".
It is.
Okay, and that's the problem when you have a short guy and an old guy. That's what happens. 1, 2, 3. Yes, sir. After all this, why would he try to hide the brass knucks? That one, the logic flew out the window on that one. But still, Bunkhouse Buck is the winner.
He looks like a country singer. Tell me he's not related to Travis Tritt.
He could be. Play me some country music.
Those are some
like
big old tall motherfuckers, though, I'll tell you that.
What's that?
Those are some big old tall motherfuckers.
Who was?
Fucking Fuller and Bunkhouse
Fuller.
Buck.
Yeah, shit. Fuller was, it is, what, 6'5", 6'6"?
That's what I'm saying. I'm 6'3" and change, and those motherfuckers are towering over me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say they're Matt Coon height.
And now we're going to take a look one more time at boom, right on the side of the head.
How great was Dustin? I can't believe y'all let him get away.
Jesus.
What would his career have looked like had y'all not fired him over some bullshit?
Over that blacktop bully bullshit? Shit. He could have had a run at the world title.
I mean, I think
Dustin Rhodes and Ric Flair would have been a hell of a match.
It would have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know, the rumor and innuendo, well, let's let you take over.
Okay, is this where we're going to see Jerry Sags in a towel?
Yes.
Okay. God damn it. Okay, no, Gene Okerlund needs that ice bag to put on his side.
We got Jesse Ventura here talking to Rick.
Yeah, when we take out Gene Okerlund's, okay, what the fuck is going on? This is what the fuck? Who the fuck? What the fuck? Who the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What motherfucker? Who the fuck? What the fuck? Don't say what the fuck to me, mother. I'm saying what the fuck to you. Holy shit, Jerry Sags in a towel. And look at Steve Regal getting involved in it as well. Oh, look, look at the whole shit. I just got an eye full of Sags in a towel. My eyeballs are melting. My eyeballs are melting out of my head. Oh, my God, get him out of there. Not only is he in the towel, he's up front. Oh, God. Oh, Heenan had to put on glasses so his eyeballs wouldn't melt. Holy shit. I didn't realize that until you told me.
Really?
Oh, that was horrible. Wasn't
Awful.
It? Absolutely awful.
Look at fucking Bobby Heenan doing his best Gorilla Monsoon here with the tinted glasses.
I know. Absolutely. And, of course, we have Aaron Neville over there just kind of hanging out.
What is he doing?
He just wanted to watch the matches.
Well, and he couldn't talk to anybody because
No.
y'all are working.
I know.
He
And
just wanted to sit up close by himself.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't put.
Big Boss Man just broke handcuffs.
Yeah.
And now he's sliding in. He's going to take on Vader. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he's saving Ric Flair, who is a baby face here.
Right. Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons not to like this. Number one is this fucking piece of shit cage we had.
The worst fucking cage
Ever.
of all time. It's like
Ever.
the Thunderdome
Yeah.
cage.
You couldn't climb it. You couldn't climb it. Okay.
I'll tell you
and
this,
you couldn't gig a person with it because it didn't look authentic.
menacing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool that, you could buy the cage as a toy.
Yeah,
So
well-
from a merchandise aspect, it was cool.
Sure. Right. But it wasn't like the cage where the cool cage where they would climb up and out like the WWE, or the cage that we had where you could rake a guy's face across it. And now time for a grudge match. And here's the good news is we are going to strip Ray Traylor of yet another, after this is over, going to strip him of yet another gimmick.
It's a shame because we first saw him as Big Bubba Rogers and Jim Crockett.
Right.
He goes north. And we had this conversation this week. You weren't here. You couldn't come. You had a baseball game. But
I'm not invited to the network either yet. But go ahead.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about it with my WWE and fellow brethren. I was
Okay.
talking with Dick Bourne and Brian Rogers. And I said, I want to freestyle something here. I think that nobody had the ascent from Crockett to WWF that Boss Man did. Like, guys who left Crockett and then went north. Who did more? Who jumped and their value just skyrocketed the way Boss Man's did? And I thought it was Boss Man.
Right.
Can you think of anybody who would beat that?
Apparently there is somebody,
Who?
but I can't think of it.
I can't either.
Okay.
No, they couldn't either.
Because I can tell you, even before he became Big Bubba Rogers, he was a job guy named Ray Traylor.
And y'all were beating the fuck out of him.
That's
totally
right.
gave him the slingshot
Right,
on Crockett
exactly.
TV back in the day.
And I remember Dusty said, I remember being back in one of those meetings. Dusty says, we've got to be able to do something with this kid.
yeah.
And then he became Big
Because
Bubba.
he's a big, mobile, working motherfucker.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden now we're talking 86, right?
Yep.
All right. 3 years later, 89,
He's on top.
at Madison Square Garden against Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
Right.
That's a big deal.
You damn right.
I mean, and I know that everybody, a lot of my very good wrestling friends are like hardcore Crockett people.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, man, he's going from working fucking studio matches in front of a couple of bleachers with hillbillies on it
Right.
to Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Now, I'm from Alabama, but
Right.
goddamn, it's Madison Square Garden against Hulk Hogan.
That's right.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. So he's, and the reason is, and I think we're watching some of the reason Ray Traylor could do a lot of good shit. He had very good working punches, as you mentioned just a moment ago. He was mobile as a big guy. I loved his stuff, man. I loved his
It's weird
shit.
to talk about a guy who's that size and say he's quick, but
Yeah.
he was.
Yes, he was. Ray,
You have an expectation when you see a guy that big as to the way he's going to move.
Right.
But he almost moved like a guy who was significantly younger. And what was great to me is he reinvented himself, not with these stupid gimmicks here, but when he goes back to the WWF later, he's a totally different character.
Sure.
I mean, his body was different. His work was different. I mean, he was just a different person. Now here, you guys really had no fucking idea what to do with him and gave him 19 different gimmicks.
Right.
And he's sort of in purgatory here to me.
Right.
He always enjoyed his greatest success in the WWF, and it's always weird to me that here's a Southern guy who really started with the roots of this company, Jim Crockett, and they never really figured out what to do with him.
Well, what we were trying to do here, we were trying to piggyback on the popularity and the gate draw that he was as the Big Boss Man. Just about 3 years earlier, 4 years earlier.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a big deal.
So that's why we called him the Boss. We couldn't call him the Boss Man. We called him the Boss. And then I guess we got cold feet because we're getting ready to strip him of his boss name here at the end of this.
I assume that's because Vince was trying to press the issue.
Right. And, and of course, the only thing you have to do is sue. And look at this big guy take flight.
What the fuck
shit.
was that? Let me just say, I'm a huge Big Van Vader fan. My favorite big guy ever.
Yeah.
He's recently had a lot of health problems. So
Right.
I want to give a shout out to Vader.
Yeah.
We hope he kicks out
Yeah.
He's been a fairly polarizing guy. You know, there's two types of people who are, when it comes to Vader, people who love him and people who hate him. Which side would you follow?
Oh, I love him. Absolutely loved him. But I was also on the side of people that hated him when he would drop down on the floor. Because when Leon got into working mode, you just didn't know, you weren't safe. He was a different level.
Do you ever listen to Howard Stern?
No, I don't.
There's a character on Howard Stern named Benji, and they talk about how Benji gets into his full shtick. And when he's in his Benji shtick, you just can't shake him out of it. Vader, Scott Steiner,
right,
Nasty Boys,
right.
Those are guys who, when they were in, they were in.
Right. Yeah, he was a very scary dude. And there's a story, and you may want to look this up, and listening to our podcast, look this up. There was a story about him in Japan beating up a woman. Have you heard that story?
No, I have not heard that.
Beating up a promoter's wife.
Not Baba's wife. You're not saying that.
Don't think it's Baba's wife, but it was a promoter's wife that he beat up. On his way back to the dressing room. She was standing there, and he beat the shit out of her.
I'd really like to not believe that.
I would like to not believe it too, but that's a story. That's a well-known story that's out there. So I'm sure somebody can say, yeah, I heard of that. But you also know the story that in Japan, I was told, I don't know, I know Meltzer knows this. I was told that in Japan that at least years ago, back when I was in the business, back in the 80s and 90s, it was an honor to get involved in the match as a fan.
Oh, absolutely. And
right.
So it would be a big deal. And even a few years ago, guys were lining up to get slapped by wrestlers.
Right. So I don't know if that was a part of this was a working thing or not, but anyway.
Let's talk about the match beforehand. Bunkhouse Buck and Dustin Rhodes went 14 minutes and 17 seconds. Meltzer called it an excellent bloodbath. And he says since they're bringing these two back in a bunkhouse match on the next pay-per-view, the heel had to go over, so this was the only logical finish. 4 stars.
Well, good. Well, I agree. 4 stars. I agree that Dave Meltzer is the guy who makes sure that everything is fucking logical. All right. If Dave Meltzer says it, look at this. Almost killed him right. Absolutely.
Almost took his head off.
Almost killed him. I mean, it's like Ray Traylor is saying, I better hold on this top rope or I'm getting ready to die. Really, that was one of the scariest maneuvers of the entire show. Absolutely. There you see. Yeah. Wow, look at Leon, buddy.
He's bleeding from the eye here.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. He was in full Vader mode right now, man. If I get hurt, what the hell? Move forward.
It's worth mentioning Vader is going to suffer a broken wrist when Boss suplexes him off the middle rope onto his shoulder. And in the process, they managed to get 3.5 stars from Dave Meltzer.
Yeah. Vader, you're right. Vader's one of the best big man ever.
I think.
Yeah. Well, I would agree. For a guy his size, I don't know what you consider big man. Over 300 pounds?
Got to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 400 here.
Yeah. So he's going to break his wrist here in this match, or he's already done it?
According to the Observer, he breaks his wrist with a suplex. So we'll see that here in this match. Right. I also want to know, one of the things that we've heard on Bruce Pritchard's podcast is that Vader sort of had a reputation for not being the most hygienic guy when it came to his gear and whatnot.
Yeah, right.
Did you hear people talk about that in WCW?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That remember he used to have that leather headdress?
That's right.
And that thing would sweat and stink and smell. Absolutely.
Hypothetically, did the giant helmet that he wore to the ring and blue smoke, that didn't stink, did it?
I never stuck my head in it. That's what he said.
I'm trying to buy that thing, which is why I asked. Okay. I'm hoping that next time you're over, it'll be in my theater.
Okay, and I hope you have it fumigated before you stick it down in your theater.
Well, I'm going to send it to Lois.
It'll be fumigated.
Lois knows a lot about cleaning.
She sure does. If it has dog hair in it, it'll still be in it when you get it back.
I having a good authority, she's so good at cleaning, she cleans your bank account out in 2010.
She's never had a bank account. It's always been mine. In the ropes. Boy, I'm getting ready to get a divorce out of this one. Wow. Great bump.
She ain't listening. She only listens to the one she's on.
Yeah, but you know what? Her daughter listens.
Oh, well.
Hello, Laurie, sweetheart. I'm glad you're listening. Don't
Wait.
tell Mom anything we've said.
Your daughter's
please.
listening right now?
Oh, yeah, she
So
listens
she's heard all about the Francine booby talk?
Yeah.
Do we need to, like, put our thing down, flip it, and reverse it?
No. My daughter doesn't pay attention to it.
Well, she's going to be great as a wife.
Yeah, she is. She's really cool. Okay, so now, apparently he hasn't broken his wrist yet. Or maybe he has. Maybe he's in full Vader mode here, even with the broken wrist. But take a look at what he's going to do here, man. Oof, oof, up top. Oof, whoop. Maybe not.
And
there it goes.
There it is.
Right there.
Broke it. Hang on. Man down.
Yeah.
See Vader hold himself.
Yep, absolutely.
But what can you do, right?
Yeah, you just still get back up and do your shit, man. Get back up and do your shit. And he's even with a broken wrist and all, man, he's going to take another bump here, and he's going to do one of these fucking moonsaults. He's just amazing. Wow. Almost killed him right there, too, because Bubba slipped.
You see Vader sort of holding them.
No question. Absolutely. Get
One
up.
of the things I always liked about Vader is he wore like NFL lineman gloves, which I thought at the time was a cool look.
Right.
This is before the UFC sort of popularized it.
Right.
Oh, and the boss off the top. I don't know what it was, but it was a lot of mass gliding.
Yeah, it was. And he went a long way, too, man. And he's in the ropes. It's about time to shut this thing down, buddy.
Randy Anderson has blood on his back.
Wow. Yes, he does. Look at Vader. It's just staggering and bloody. Whoa. Holy
Power
shit.
slam off the top rope.
Oh, fuck.
These guys are pulling out all the stops. One of the most underrated shows of WCW history, maybe.
With this
right
one?
Here. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a transition show, too.
From when it became super cartoony bullshit when Hogan comes in?
I'm not saying that. You said that. But it's transition between...
No, in a couple of months, you got fucking Honky Tonk Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Brutus the fucking Barber, Beefcake, John Tenta, the Dungeon of Doom.
A transition from that. Look at this. Boom, man. Absolutely.
Is that it?
No, he's going to do the moonsault for the finish.
I was trying to tease it like legitimate, but we'll go with spoilers.
Okay. It could have been it, but he kicked out. Okay. Now comes the finish right here. Well, so yeah, this was a transition one. This is BH before Hogan, AH after Hogan. Moonsault, kaboom.
What a fucking deal, man.
Man.
You know, I know lots of people have something bad to say about Leon, but let me just say, motherfucker that size, doing a moonsault that tight, a lot of respect. He didn't have to do that to get over.
No, he did not.
He was already over. And a lot of guys say, hey, you're not working like a big man. You need to work like a big man. Be a big man. They get mad at guys when they do spots like that. But when Vader did a moonsault like that, holy shit, that's something to see.
You damn right. Hats off to Leon White, man. The baby bull. Absolutely. What a performer.
9 minutes and 17 seconds here is what these guys got.
Okay, look at him. He's got a broken wrist. He's still leaning on his wrist. And now we're going to, oh, no, we can't have this happen. We can't. Let's get dumb motherfucker up in the ring here. Oh, on the back of God's green earth. Pounding away. And Randy Anderson goes down. And now Nick Bockwinkel's going to come in the ring and say, that's enough. That is enough. Absolutely.
So unfortunately, Nick Bockwinkel is put in a bad spot here where he says even though these weapons were allowed and fine in the other matches we saw tonight, like the Chicago Street Fight and the Bunkhouse Brawl, they're not allowed here. So he is no longer able to wrestle as the boss. So give me your handcuffs and your nightstick.
Right. He's gonna.
So there's a storyline reason for stripping him of the name and the gimmick so he can have a new gimmick, obviously because of some sort of legal situation with the big boss man and the World Wrestling Federation. But chat me up here. Do we not make Nick look like a fucking bumbling dumbass to say you can't use these things after we're hitting goddamn people with shovels and shoulders?
Yeah, but Nick was a bumbling dumbass, so it all kind of worked. Right. Don't you think so? I mean, there's a very online somewhere, there's a thing with me talking, Nick Bockwinkel starts talking about some match, and we're going to come back for at the next pay-per-view, and he couldn't remember the name of the pay-per-view. So I had to tell him the name of the pay-per-view, and Heenan was laughing so much he had to stand behind me off camera, so he was laughing at Bockwinkel stumbling through, and I'm thinking the fucking commissioner doesn't even know the name of our pay-per-views. So that's online somewhere. I've seen that. I've seen somebody put it on YouTube or on Twitter or something. All right. So with that in mind, we're going to go to another plea for a fucking kidney. Holy shit. All right. We appreciate everybody who's called tonight. 1-900-909-90. Would somebody frame this shot right? Thank God. Frame it up. I should be fucking centered here. Center me up. Is Greg Leathers? Is Craig Leathers? Craig, center my fucking ass up. All right, never mind. 1-900-909-9900. Kids, you don't need your parents' permission because tonight we're buying me a new kidney. And we may have to go to India. We may have to go to Pakistan. It doesn't fucking matter. I need a kidney. So let me tell you the call right now. Also standing by see how out of frame I am? What the fuck? What the fuck?
It's almost like y'all were going to put a TV box up in the corner.
Yeah, it's almost like somebody's supposed to walk in. Thank God we put the graphic up. Aren't you glad we could put the graphic up? The WCW Wrestling Hotline. Tonight, it's the Kidney Donation Hotline. 1-900-909-9900. Parents, please let your kids call. I am desperate. How do you like my makeup? Annette Yother gave me my makeup. In about 3 or 4 years from now, she's going to try to take over the company. Right now, let's go back to the ring. Annette did do the makeup during that time.
Oh, wow.
Have you asked Eric about Annette Yother? Look how fucked up this is. World title shot, graphics, right? Oh, little music. Whoop, we're going to go to Gene. We're going to go to me? What the fuck? No, we're going to go here. Okay, that is WCW in a fucking nutshell. Let's rewind that one again, okay? Graphic, no, we're not going to do that. Gene, we're not going to do that. Oh, let's go to Jesse Ventura.
What's Bockwinkel saying right now?
Bockwinkel is saying, I just need to say a few words to you, Jesse. What's your name again? Boss Man? No, I can't say Boss Man. Oh, Boss, we got to strip you of your shit. So I want the nightstick, okay? I want the fucking badge, and I want the handcuffs. And we are stripping you of your fucking gimmick. Why? I have no fucking idea. Because my gimmick was to be the thinking man's wrestler, to be the brilliant man. But as most people knew, I was kind of fucking dumb. So that's kind of it. And the boss is really pissed off about it. Jesse's looking at the monitor. And I'm just glad we got this shot, Conrad, because apparently we didn't know where we were going.
No, it's unfortunate. How would you describe Jesse the Body Ventura's haircut here?
Yeah, that was... is that one of those Alabama rat tails?
No, it was an Alabama special that Lance Storm had.
Okay.
But when you're bald up top, I feel like it needs another name.
It's like a Mongold look. Didn't the Mongolds have those?
Yes.
Right, but they had it on the side, didn't they? The Mongolds?
I wasn't alive back then.
You don't remember the Mongolds?
No.
Somebody do a Mongold search for me online. They had the bald heads and they had the little thing of hair
I was
hanging
just going with it to not make you look dumb.
Okay, well,
you know?
too late for that. See, now we don't know what we're doing. Where are we? Are we going? Michael Buffer said.
Buffer has no idea.
Yeah, we coming
Kenny
to me?
Powers has no idea.
We don't know who's music. We don't know, and we still don't know. And okay, we just do kind of push in with this shot here a little bit. Keep pushing in. Where are we fucking going? People are screaming, I know, right and left behind the scenes in the truck right now. And Eric is probably dropping a deuce. What the fuck are we fucking doing? Come on. Would someone bring Steamboat out? We're crying out, oh, here we go. Ricky Dragon Steamboat.
Look at this silly horse shit. So Steamboat is fresh off his run in the WWF. Of course, when he was last year in WCW, he was the World Heavyweight Champion battling Ric Flair. And he came out with his wife Bonnie and his son, and he was a world champion, and that sort of sucked. But this shit, he's wearing his old WWF Dragon wings on his back,
and that's because he was able to use this.
And he's got a torch in his hand,
right?
And he's got his mouth pursed because he's about to blow alcohol at it. What a fucking silly thing!
Yeah.
He's gonna breathe fire. Here he goes.
All right. Dale Torborg story, if I could.
And the crowd goes mild.
Okay.
That's a lot of effort for no pop.
You know, Dale Torborg did the demon gimmick for us.
That's right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You love that shit.
Oh, yes, I did. And the demon gimmick would do two things. He would breathe fire, right? And he would spit blood. So he had the fire in his mouth and also had the blood thing in his mouth, okay? So he breathed the fire, in the fire, they put like lighter fluid in your mouth. And so that coats your mouth where it's all slick and greasy. and instead of being able to spit the blood, he swallowed the whole thing and went sliding right down the tube. He wasn't able to breathe it.
What was the blood?
It was a mixture of like.
In my head, y'all went to Abdullah the Butcher's, got a batch of hepatitis. He was good to go.
It was food coloring and molasses and shit like that.
Hey, if you know where this Ric Flair robe is, DM me on Twitter. Hey, it's Conrad. I'll pay good damn money. I'm a buyer of all Ric Flair robes, but this one in particular is my holy grail, and it eludes me. I can't find it.
Does he know where it is?
No, he doesn't know where it is.
Why would he?
Here's the thing. I think a lot of people think Ric Flair's like sentimental about all that shit. But
he's not.
He didn't care.
No.
Like in Ric Flair's man cave, he's got a picture I gave him, and he's got a picture of him in Charlotte, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's literally nothing else.
Yeah, that's
like,
him.
He didn't care.
That's right. Man, I wish he'd have taken Ritalin. He would have probably been.
That robe right there, that was as cool guy.
Yes, it was, man. Absolutely.
But that belt underneath is just
the
not
shit.
the same.
No, there's no way you can run that belt out after we've seen Sting with that other belt.
That's right.
Yeah.
It feels second fiddle.
Yeah. Michael Buffer with a little earring on his left ear over there.
What's up with that?
I don't know. It's
been
first
hanging
time
out there in Neville this show and got them ears pierced.
Yeah,
out.
that's the first time I've noticed that, man. Michael Buffer, pretty funny guy behind the scenes. Had a good sense of humor.
Michael Buffer is funny, but Bruce Buffer is hilarious.
Is it really?
I saw Bruce Buffer. I used to go to UFC in Vegas almost every month.
Yeah.
Back before I got way back into wrestling. It was a fun excuse to go out and gamble and drink and watch fights and whatever. And so one of the times I went, the fight was at Mandalay Bay, and I went to the steakhouse inside Mandalay Bay, and I wound up having a reservation one table over from Michael Buffer or Bruce Buffer, and Bruce came in with two chicks. And so I'm thinking, oh look, it's the announcer from UFC. That's pretty cool.
And one for me.
And I was with someone,
okay.
and he decided to get a cheap pop from the girls when it comes time to order.
Okay.
And he's like, we're going to have the mashed potatoes, and then we'll have the filet. She wants hers medium rare. She wants hers medium rare. And I'll have mine medium. I was like, this motherfucker, he's about to get more ass than a toilet seat.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit was over like a rubber.
And probably later that night he said, one of you sit on my face, and the other you sit down here.
Dude, he closed that deal. He closed that deal.
I'm sure he did.
Now, of course, we're in there with, just regular casino patrons.
Yeah.
And they're all like, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I'm like, this guy's getting his shit in. That's what he's doing.
Oh, very cool, man. All right, there's Flair with the shitty. You don't own that shitty belt, do you? Or
no,
do you?
Dave Milliken does, and he appreciates you shitting all over it. Okay. He's got it framed and on his wall with a little plaque. Of course, Sting held that one. Vader, Lex Luger, Ron Simmons.
All right.
And, of course, the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Only a handful of Ric Flair world titles. He held that WWF one with a broken wing that Triple H has in his office.
Yeah.
He held the Dome Globe that you love so much that you grew up with, also in Triple H's office. Dave Milliken has that one, and nobody really knows where the big gold belt is.
Yes, we do. Dave Milliken, now he makes belts?
He does, yes.
Whatever happened to your buddy Leather by Dan? Did you?
Oh, Belts by Dan. He's still around. He made a belt for Bruce that I awarded Bruce over WrestleMania weekend for our reigning, defending, undisputed podcast of the year. Something to wrestle.
Wow. They're doing quite well, aren't they, Cassio? And they fucking let you know it, too.
Well, we're number one on the network. And two-time podcast of the year. Those trunks right there that Flair's sporting, I actually have upstairs.
Wow.
David Flair gave them to me when he told me the Barbarian story. He said, hey, you want these fucking things? And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. So,
and then he said, Tommy Young.
T-shirt available now at loisrules.com. And this is, one for the ages. These guys, if you ask them, they would say they had their best matches in the 70s. Of course, most of us grew up on their trilogy in 89, which most people regard as the greatest matches of all time. 3 5-star matches, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. And now they're going to try to reprise that 5 years later. Of course, their first match in 89 was in February, Chi-Town Rumble. And then we saw 2 following, the Clash of the Champions, which we recently covered, that went head-to-head with WrestleMania 5. And, of course, Wrestle War from Nashville. Good old JR had the privilege of calling all 3. And now they're trying to put on a clinic here again 5 years later. And it's not going to be nearly as good as the 3 before. And I think this probably didn't meet expectations. A lot of people expected this to be match number 4 of that 89 trilogy. But by this point, neither one of them are quite the performer they were 5 years earlier. That's not to say that they're not phenomenal wrestlers. This isn't a great match, but it wasn't that mind-blowing match that we saw on 89.
Yeah, well, a couple of things here, and this is classic Ric Flair. You know, I mentioned this on earlier podcasts. Flair always knew what was going on before his match, so he knew that Vader and Boss Man, or the Boss, had a pretty ass-kicking, bloody type match. So he was going to try to tone it down at the beginning of this match, make it a little bit slower, and then build up to a finish. And you'll see as they build up to it, it's kind of a fucked up finish, but you see as they build up to it, they do
Super.
They do a lot more chopping, and they really pick up the pace as we move forward. Now, for me, and I'm old school, and if Dick Bourne was here, he would agree with me. The best Ric Flair-Ricky Steamboat match was Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling back in 1977 or 78. I think 77, when Flair dropped the television strap to Ricky Steamboat and made him a star. That to me was, and of course it was a television match, so it was much shorter than the rest. But that, and it just goes to show you that as a wrestling fan, it not only, great matches not only stand out, but the impact they made stands out.
Because we're still talking about it 40 years later.
Exactly. And the impact to me was this kid, this good-looking kid, Ricky Steamboat, came out, who could do some things. All of a sudden, he's a television champion. And that has had an impact on me throughout all these years. So,
you know, I'm doing a podcast with Eric Bischoff soon called 83 Weeks. And our first episode is going to be about when Hulk Hogan joined the NWO. And we'll cover the beginning of the NWO from when Scott Hall first signed until Hulk Hogan debuted as the third man in the NWO. And almost everybody unanimously says that the NWO was one of the greatest angles ever. Ric Flair is fucking adamant it was one of the worst things ever. And his measure, and this just shows you sort of a look into his thinking, is who did they put over? Who did they make? What did they build? And at the time, I thought it was just sort of sour grapes when I heard him. But now I look back and I think, Ric Flair made Lex Luger. Can we agree?
Right.
Ric Flair made Sting. Ric Flair made Ricky Steamboat.
Right.
We could keep going.
Right.
Who did the NWO make? I really struggled with that. And so I think that's a different way of looking at things rather than, hey, was it good? Was it not? Were you a fan? Were you not? It was the value it brought to the business. And I think Flair's perspective was the value you bring to the business as a performer is, who else did you help make? I mean, Flair was the guy who gave DDP his first world title win.
Right.
I mean, you just go down the list.
Kerry Von Erich, right?
Kerry Von Erich, great example.
Right.
There's just so many, and I'm not, this isn't just a plug for Pop. I'm just talking about the NWO because we're seeing Ricky Steamboat here, and really and truly, he had a phenomenal match with the Macho Man, but a few months after that, he's out of there. They never really capitalized on that.
Right.
Maybe because of his personal situation with Bonnie. Maybe he was just tired of being on the road. Maybe he wasn't happy with his contract. But if he would have left there and came to WCW and not beat Ric Flair for the world title, who was Ricky Steamboat then?
Right. Yeah, well, Flair makes a good point, and it's something that I hope you're going to hit Eric with.
I want to know, in your opinion, though, like...
Well, here's my opinion about the NWO.
Yeah.
It kept us in business for another 5 or 6 years.
Oh, no doubt. And I think you could argue that night, and we had a big debate earlier, because I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I wanted to watch Bash at the Beach, at least that match where Hogan turned. And I really do think you could argue that the night that Hogan turned is the most important night in the history of wrestling. Because without him turning, I don't know that they would have really embraced Attitude and Stone Cold. I don't know that the catalyst of growth that we saw for both companies would have really happened and taken off had the NWO not been as successful as it was. The NWO being as successful as it was made the WWF get a little edgier. We saw DX. We saw Stone Cold. We saw Mike Tyson. We saw people really doubling down on things. We saw Sting become a breakout character. We saw Goldberg get his crowning moment beating Hulk Hogan. But had Hogan not turned and he was still this white meat baby face character, it might not have turned out the way it did.
So, in effect, Ric Flair is right. The NWO didn't make anybody, but the NWO made wrestling, made the promotions.
It gave the promotion an edge.
Right.
And it gave them something to sort of rebel against. And, I mean, we say it didn't really make anything, but it made Goldberg.
Sure it did.
I mean, well, and I guess we should say Hulk Hogan made Goldberg.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was never even really a rematch from that. You go back and you look, where did Hogan get his heat back on Goldberg? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
right.
it was a selfish thing of Hogan. That's probably what Rick would argue.
Yeah. And I understand his thinking here. But the fact is, I really, at the beginning, didn't enjoy this match. But as we move along here, I really did enjoy it. And
These guys get a lot of time here, too.
Right.
You know, and they're doing a tremendous... It was really phenomenal to mention. I'm just stuck on this. They drew 125,000 at the gate, and it's the biggest in this building since 1991 when Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair were there for the WWF. Chicago is historically a WWF town.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, it is.
And so Hulk Hogan, biggest star in the business in 91. Would you agree?
I would.
Ric Flair, second biggest star in the business. Would you agree?
Right.
They only drew 135. So only $10,000 more with the two biggest stars in the history of the business. And now you're back here with Ricky Steamboat. No disrespect, but he's no Hulk Hogan as far as box office goes.
Right.
And it's only a $10,000 difference. It really is phenomenal. And let me tell you what Dave Meltzer had to say about this match. He says, Flair was awarded a decision in a clumsy and nonsensical post-match after going to a double pin with Ricky Steamboat in 32-21. No matter how hard he was training, the reality is an athlete can't be as good at 45 as he was at 40 or at 41, much less as he was at 36. And no matter how much comedy and gimmicks are involved in pro wrestling, certain performers are also excellent athletes who rely heavily on their athletic ability once the bell rings, and few in this country more than these two. No, this wasn't as good as 89, and it was unrealistic to expect it to be. They were the two best wrestlers in the world at that time, both at the peak of their games, with complementing styles against one another, doing what at the time was state-of-the-art. Now they are quote-unquote just two great wrestlers having an excellent match, and considering the quality of this show that so many voted as the best match on the show, it shows just how good it really was. It was announced that Flair was awarded the decision by Bockwinkel since Steamboat failed to beat him, and on a tie, the decision goes to the champion. But to tune in on television on Saturday because the decision may be reversed. It was actually a simple double pin finish, which is traditional title match draw in Lucha Libre, since those matches have no time limit. Apparently, this one was done to set up a television rematch to pop a big rating, perhaps at the June Clash. I think it's a bad policy to ask fans to spend $24.95 for a pay-per-view and then tell them they have to wait a week to find out who won the main event, but at least they didn't tell them to call the 900 line.
To get a kidney.
The idea of a double pin finish with the challenger in command and executing the hold to lead to a rematch is a good finish, provided the issue is eventually resolved. This is soap opera. If there is no rematch, this was a weak finish. And most had the latter feeling with the match. After all, this is still WCW with a tremendous track record to live down, 4 1/4 stars. So he's a big fan of it, gives it a really high rating here. 4.5 is what we saw at the Cactus Jack match. 4 stars for the Dustin match, 4 1/4 here. I don't know of many pay-per-views that had these high ratings.
Right.
We have lots of fun on this show, and normally it's more fun to make fun of the bad stuff. We've tried to have fun with some really great stuff. But this match was really doomed from the start because the bar was just set so high from 1989. If you had to sort of armchair quarterback it, hindsight being 2020, what finish would you have went for instead of the one we're going to see?
I would have put a Steamboat over.
And did a title switch?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to argue.
Yeah.
It makes him, without it,
Right.
he's sort of
Yeah.
dead in the water.
Exactly. I agree with everything that Meltzer said right there with the exception of one thing. I don't think that fans, because of the finish of this match, felt they got screwed out of $24.99. I think you look at the entire show and fans walk away saying, that last finish was kind of shitty, but that's a hell of a show.
Right.
So I don't think you can just say because the final match's finish was shitty, which it was, that fans say, boy, I fucked away my money that time. I don't agree with that at all. I just think that there's more to a pay-per-view than just the final match. And they did some great shit, man. I mean, they're going to, as Flair's calling this match, they're going to pick up the pace here and it's going to get a little bit quicker and everything. And they're going to start chopping each other and they're going to go on the outside and pick up the intensity. And it all ended up pretty good. And then, of course, the finish came and we all went, Yeah.
Let me ask you this: if this match had a different finish, if this match wasn't after so many other great matches,
Yeah.
and if those 3 matches in 1989 hadn't happened, would this be a 5-star match? I know there's a lot of what ifs I laid out there. Let
yeah.
me run through them again. It's a clean finish. You're not following all these incredible matches we've had so far.
Right.
And 1989 never happened.
Right.
Is this a 5-star match? It's damn close, is it not?
It's close, but you also got to the awarding of stars and half stars and quarter stars is not only based on what happens in the ring. I think it's also based on
The story.
and what era you're in as well.
And you think Chicago maybe wasn't the town for these guys?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I think a Charlotte, a Greensboro, Atlanta.
Oh, well, there's no doubt. If they're in Atlanta, Charlotte, or if they're in the Carolinas or Georgia, it's a different deal.
And what's going to happen is, as watching a match like this, you get in one of those towns, the fans are going to be a little bit more into it because they're a little bit more into these guys. And because the fans are into it, you're going to think the match a little bit better than it was.
Let me say this, too. No disrespect to these guys, because as you know, I love them both.
Yeah.
But the idea
you
that
better love Pop, I can tell you that.
everybody knows I do. That they're trying to work this headlock gimmick like they are. This is just a few minutes after Dustin and Bunkhouse were bleeding everywhere.
Right.
It's an hour after they're hitting motherfuckers with shovels in the face.
Right.
It's really hard to get behind. Oh, man, that headlock hurts.
Right.
And I just think the undercard may have hurt him a little bit. Because when I say Chi-Town Rumble, most people struggle to tell me what match there was besides this one.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
And when I say Clash of the Champions, from 89 in New Orleans, nobody knows what's on that card except this.
Yeah.
Even Wrestle War, people struggle to think of a match besides this one. But when you say Spring Stampede 94, a lot of people mention 3 matches. And I think that really hurts this one a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. Wow. I'm thinking of Raging Cage, and I got that in my brain now, too, when they seemed like they were wrestling in church.
Yeah, there was nobody there.
Nobody there,
By the
man.
way, that's the first time that we first did Sassafras, which is now one of the better selling shirts over at ProWrestlingTees.com. You can check it out at LoisRules.com or just click around and see any of our other wrestling bros who are selling shirts. And we should remind you that eventually when you buy a shirt at LoisRules.com, Tony, you're going to call and thank them. How far behind are you on your calls right now?
I'm a month and a half.
Okay, so if you buy a shirt today, by the end of the summer, Tony Schiavone's calling to thank you.
Yeah, buy a shirt. Would you stop laughing over there, Cassio? If you buy a shirt today, which is like the end of April, you'll get a call in probably June.
There you go. Now, if you go to SaveCade.com, we're going to hit your ass up in about 10 minutes.
SaveCade.com, SaveCade.com. Let me tell you why it's so easy to apply. Whoa, there's a big chop. Now we're picking up the steam here a little bit. When you lose your place in the match, just chopping, man. Watch behind me there. This is,
Sort of a weird deal here because Flair is still a babyface here, but only until Hogan comes in, which isn't that far ahead.
Right.
I mean, if Hogan's coming to town, Flair's got to be a heel, right?
Sure, because you want to see Flair and Hogan on a pay-per-view, right?
Speaking of pay-per-views, the Wrestling Observer readers gave this 90.5% thumbs up.
Wow.
2.7% thumbs down, and only 6.9% thumbs in the middle.
Wow.
Where are you at? Thumbs up, down, or?
Oh, thumbs up. You talking about the whole show?
Yep.
Yeah. How many of those were thumbs down again?
90.5 was thumbs up.
Okay.
2.7 is thumbs down.
And of 2.7, what does that work out numbers wise? How many does
12.
Yeah, those 12 fuckers need to kill themselves.
Well, they might have.
Yeah, thank God.
Let's take some questions from Twitter. If you've got some questions for us, you can ask them on both Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah.
And we're doing different topics every single week. You can keep up with our schedule over at Facebook or Twitter. We're doing a WCW Saturday night next week, and I'm pretty excited about that. And it's the one where Randy Owen is on the set. And I can't believe that's even a thing. But it is, and we're looking forward to covering that. And I feel like
The Kip Fry era back then, buddy.
absolutely. Well, let me run down exactly what we're doing again in case you're kind of lost in the sauce. We're going to do that WCW Saturday night. It's May 9th, 1992 next week. And if you want to ask a question, you can. On May the 7th, we're going to cover Slamboree 98. That's where Bischoff would challenge Vince McMahon to a fight.
Wow.
On May the 14th, we're covering Capital Combat 1990, Tony's first show back in the company. It's also where fucking RoboCop showed up. On May 21st, we're covering the Legends Reunion, Slamboree 1993. And then on May 28th, we're doing the 22-year anniversary of Scott Hall showing up on Nitro. That, of course, went down on May 26, 1996. So set your calendar. He is at Tony Schiavone 24. I am at Hey It's Conrad. And you can always tweet the show at WHW Monday.
Okay, so we got a lot of good things coming up, a lot of crazy things coming up, and things to talk about in my memories of those things. In the midst of all this, again, they're starting to pick up the pace here a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And, of course, it's always good when you can chop each other. And they're getting ready to, and we're about 20 minutes away from the end of the show.
Yeah, we're at 228 and change right now,
Right.
if you're following along at home.
They're really getting ready to hook it into high gear as far as chops are concerned. And then the fans will really start to get into it because, Flair is kind of stalking him. Steamboat chops him back. Man, I'm telling you, they used to. They ain't pulling punches here, kids.
No,
They're not.
wide open.
No, wide open. Yeah.
I feel like I should mention. You asked me before I went to pee out of my penis a little earlier.
Oh, I'm glad he did it out of his penis, aren't you?
Ric Flair
Okay.
was on the Tonight Show this week.
Was on what show?
Tonight Show.
Yeah,
It was
right.
on NBC.
Doing the Flair drip,
thing.
right?
Yes, the Ric Flair drip.
Right.
Ric Flair drip
Right.
was on NBC, the Tonight Show. Offset, Metro Boomin, they were there performing their platinum hit single, Ric Flair drip. It's about to go double platinum. And Jimmy Fallon actually set up a little ring for him. Did you see the video?
No, I haven't seen
He
it.
set up a video.
I'm doing baseball now,
where they could. There you go.
Yeah.
They could do almost like a video shoot where they had a real wrestling ring, or
Right.
I mean, it looked like a ring. It's
Right.
not really. It's real ropes and whatnot.
It's nothing Klondike would have built.
No,
Yeah, okay.
not up to Klondike standards. Look at
Okay.
this pile driver on the floor. Nope, Flair back body drop
Yes,
for
sir.
Flair
There you go.
onto the mat. And then Metro Boomin comes out,
Right.
and he's the DJ, and then Offset comes out, and he's wearing Ric Flair's purple robe, the one that's filled with sequins that he wore against Vader at Starcade 93.
Right.
I think he wore it against Hogan at Bash at the Beach here later this year. Anyway, and then eventually Flair struts ass out there, and
A
that
Big
red
Pop,
and
right?
gold one.
Yeah.
Big Pop. He was the surprised, unannounced guest.
Right.
And as you know, I love me some Pop, but he has proved that white men can't dance.
Right.
It was like there was, I don't know, a riot at the old folks' home.
Sure,
or something.
right.
It was hilarious.
Well, you do understand that back in the day, Ric Flair never did have to ask a girl to dance to get her in the sack.
No.
So that was not part of his gimmick.
Well, his gimmick was
Show
baby's
him
arm.
your dick and then take him upstairs. That was his gimmick. Oh,
You know, there was a. Do you ever watch UFC?
UFC?
Yeah.
No, I got baseball.
Have you? Are you familiar with a fighter from Georgia? He's from Athens, named Forrest Griffin.
No.
So Forrest Griffin was a UFC fighter. I don't know, a decade ago,
Well, there's a spot you don't usually see. Whoa.
and he was on the show Tough Enough, which was their reality show.
Right.
Not Tough Enough. I'm sorry, Ultimate Fighter.
Okay.
So it's like their version of Tough Enough, the WWE show. And he gets down to the end and has a barn burner of a fight with Stephen Bonner. They both wind up getting contracts, and he's officially a UFC fighter. Well, he wrote a book, and in his book, he shared that his gimmick for picking up ladies, and I think you'll like this, is he would go to the bar and start talking about how small his penis was. And then he would ask the girls if they would take a look. And give their opinion, like, is it really that small? Is it really that bad? And then eventually they would just go for it, and then he would reveal
That it wasn't that small.
Roll Tide. Is that not like the best, worst gimmick ever?
That's something. That's
I mean, I told Flair that, and he started dating Wendy a week later. I don't know if that has anything to do with anything.
just a coincidence, I would think. Oh, and now, gee whiz. Now, look how Steamboat's just laying them in here, man. And not only, look how Flair is selling them. This is, I'm telling you, this
It's
is
a
a great
phenomenal
show.
match.
Yes,
Look
it
at
is.
there, my favorite part.
Yes, face first goes Flair.
The Flair bump.
Yes, sir.
Gotta have respect for that.
Yes, sir.
Foot on the ropes. Ricky Steamboat doesn't get the pin.
Mm-hmm. And Flair's going to shoot him on the outside here. And he's going to come right back in. Bow. Yeah, the fans are really starting to get into it now. And, you know, in these later years, Flair would want you to pull down these pants here from behind. He would say, just grab them and I'll show everybody my ass.
Why do you think that was his deal? He's an exhibitionist of sorts?
No, I don't think we've ever established that. There's one of these. Well, a great block that time. One of Flair's great moves is that knee drop.
The Harley Race knee drop. He stole from Harley.
Sure he did. And now the figure 4.
Look at the way Flair's head movement is selling the injury.
Yeah, saying no. And then he goes down and up.
Man, this is a masterful performance by
Yes,
both of these
yes,
guys.
it is.
It's a shame that it's slept on as much as it is because it's not 1989. Let's go to some questions from Twitter. Are you ready?
Well, it's got a 4+ star rating, so it's
Mike
okay.
wants to know, do you guys feel like DDP and Johnny B. Bad wrestled on every pay-per-view card?
Yes.
Tommy wants to know, why does the Brian Pillman Lord Steven Regal match not get any love? It's got to be because it's a draw, right?
Yeah, no finish.
Russell wants to know, what did Tony think of Chicago?
I love Chicago.
Where's your pizza joint? You got a pizza joint in Chicago?
Yeah, Pizzeria Uno. Or
Really?
Or Pizzeria Dewey.
I'm taking you to, because we're going to be there. I guess this is as good a time as any to announce that you and I are going to be participating in the StarCast weekend, which is going down in conjunction with All In. I know the tickets are going to be on sale soon, and I believe they're making the announcement for that on May 13th. So hopefully you'll join us for both All In and for StarCast. Tony and I are going to be bringing our show there, and when you pick up StarCast tickets, whenever they're on sale, you'll be able to see Tony and I do our thing. And we have a special guest or two lined up, don't we, Tony?
Yes, we do.
I'm looking forward to
We got
that.
some. Yeah, it's very
weird.
close to us right now.
It's weird
It's
to
not
get
Casio,
you.
but Casio, you can come if you want. Okay.
It's weird to get you out of the house when you don't have baseball, but
Right.
we're actually going to have you on Thursday and Friday of StarCast weekend, and I'm working on Saturday. I'm working on it.
Look, I'm changing. Let me interrupt the questions right here to say that I'm going to start to change my life. Okay. I'm going to start to change my life. I love the University of Georgia. I'm never going to lose them. I love baseball, and I love wrestling. So I'm going to change my life.
We're going to find a way to make it work.
I'm going to find to make things because Conrad Thompson has changed my life. Yeah. He has. And so I'm going to find a way to make it work. I mean, look, there's nobody else's house I could go to and say, I'm going to so-and-so's house. Lois would raise a bitch. But when I say I'm going to Conrad's house, she said, oh, great, have a good time. Tell him I said hello. So that's one of the ways that's changed my life. So, so we're going to have a great year. We're going to have a great year.
I'm excited about it. We hope
Yeah.
you join us at StarCast. But while we're up there, I'm taking you to Pequod's Pizza.
Pequods.
Have you had Pequod's
I've
before?
never had a Pequod. No.
So what they're famous for is, of course, the deep dish that Chicago's known for. But they've got like this burnt end on the crust.
Yeah.
Woo, son.
Ooh.
It's Roll Tide.
Burn my Pequod.
If you could, yes. Mm-hmm. Burn my... that actually
It
might
just
be a
sounds
thing.
good, doesn't it?
Hey, I don't even know that Medusa's coming. Settle down.
Oh.
All right, here we go. What is Tony's favorite musical? That comes to us from A.G. Fad.
The greatest music of all time is Les Miserables.
I don't know about that.
And next is My Fair Lady. Yeah.
I don't like either one of those. Mike wants to know, did Tony ever do any partying after the event? So you're in Chicago. This was a famous horseman town 10
Yep.
years prior.
Right.
Chat me up. What was your favorite party spot here in Chicago?
Well, we always went on to Rush Street, and there was
Snuggery?
Snuggeries at Rush Street was our favorite place.
Even here.
Yeah,
Can I tell you about, you've met Larry Thompson before.
I'm sure.
My
I have.
father.
Yes.
All of you said, I'm sure I have.
He said Larry. He said you said first name and last name.
Well, because you don't know him as Dad. You know him as Larry.
Well, I know him as Larry, but not as Larry Thompson. I was thinking there was a guy in Chicago called Larry. We're talking about Snuggery in Chicago, and I'm sure you've met Larry Thompson. Oh, yes, he's the maitre d' at Snuggery.
Well, here's my dad was indeed the mayor. No, here's why I brought it up. My dad can't say the word Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
What does he say?
Chicago.
Chicago?
Chicago.
Chicago.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We'll call him later and I'll have him say it for you. Chicago.
Well, Dick the Bruiser couldn't either.
What'd he say?
Chicago.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We're going to Chicago. Then we're going down to Gary. We're going to have a match in Hammond. And we're going to finish up the run of Indianapolis.
Did you hear they're doing a statue to Dick the Bruiser in Milwaukee?
Really?
I got funded. A giant bronze statue going to be in a central spot in the city.
Really?
It funded thousands of dollars, like $35,000 they raised for this thing.
Wow.
And they had one donor for more than $10,000 who was a big fan of the Bruiser. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's the Crusher. The Bruiser's shit. My
Right.
bad. Let's
The
move
Crusher.
on.
Yeah.
All right. Chris Clary wants to know, did Tony watch Charlotte and Asuka? Does he feel they could be Flair-Steamboat version 2?
I did not watch it. I saw the finish of it, but I didn't watch the entire match. I don't know if they can be Flair-Steamboat 2. I'm not. This will probably never buy me any time on the network. I'm not that big of an Asuka fan. I think she's been put into a tough role.
I don't know that anybody is.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I appreciate what Asuka's doing, but at the same time, I don't know that she's connected with fans. And that's what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Who can be passionate about. And I think as far as just a promo, people, a lot of American fans are trying to figure it out. Like, we want to like you because you win.
Right.
But why should we like you?
Right.
The why is what people are struggling with right now.
Sure.
Interestingly enough, I know that you probably don't keep up with women's wrestling as much as you might have used to back when you were in the makeup chair. But Ric Flair actually refers to Sasha Banks. You know who Sasha is?
Yes, I do.
He calls her Steamboat. So whenever they're in catering and he sees her or whatever, he'll yell, Steamboat! And she turns her head because he's just ingrained that in her head that Charlotte and Sasha are the female modern day version of Flair Steamboat that we're seeing here in the ring.
Okay.
Caleb wants to know, who was the better wrestler, Danny Bonaducci or Christopher Knight?
It was Danny Bonaducci. Because come on now, the song that I'm singing, he made me happy.
Look at the splash here from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Ooh. Swing and a miss. 3/4 of the way across the ring. What an athlete Steamboat was.
Oh, he was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. And now that's going to lead Flair to go with the figure 4 leg lock. And the fans are going to pop when he puts it on. You see him standing. See?
They think this is it.
They think it's it.
And look at Steamboat holding the leg, refusing to let it go on. What a great story they told. The little details like this is what made these matches great.
It's what made these two competitors great.
Not letting the leg go all the way down. He finally gets it on. And look at the crowd. A second pop out of them.
Right. You know, I look at these matches and I think so many things. But what I think most of all is that damn Ric Flair could call a great match.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like one of the reasons he was probably put in a position to be a booker is people had such great respect for what he could do as far as putting matches together. But it does make you wonder, was he really that great at creative as far as storylines and whatnot, or was he just great as far as being a ring general?
He was great at being a ring general when Ric Flair's in the ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as booking 2 other guys, no, I don't think so.
And a lot of people will take that what you and I just said as a knock, but the reality is there's a lot of guys who can't call a fucking match. So
exactly.
If you're going to be the best of all time at calling a match, that's not a bad thing to be.
If you take what Conrad and I just said as a knock, delete your Twitter account, get off of it. There's enough people in the sewer without you being another turd floating in there.
Okay. So speaking of turds, I'm just kidding. I can't transition. Okay. Angela Zimmerman wants to know, Ricky Steamboat's real life last name is Blood, which is pretty badass.
Right.
Why do you think he didn't use it in some capacity? That's actually a great question because you got Steamboat, and I know that you're going to give us a real logical reason for using Steamboat, but holy shit, Blood as a last name?
He told me the story. I had him on my radio show in Atlanta, and he told me.
Let's plug that. What channel? What time?
Okay, it is. It is not on during the summer because I've got baseball.
Let's move along.
Okay, but he told me the story, and I can't remember who it was. It was Vern Gagne that told him that he didn't think Blood was a good babyface name, and he looked like a babyface. So
Blood is a heel last name,
right?
But what a fucking name!
Yeah. So it was Vern Gagne that told him we need to change it.
It would be like if your legit last name was Vader.
Right.
right? Like,
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
We're going with that.
And you're a baby face. Not working.
Jay wants to know, was Michael Buffer announcing Regal wearing royal blue with red trim the dirtiest thing ever said in WCW?
Not by a long shot.
One of my favorite things about commentary here from Bobby Heenan is when he said, and I thought this was pretty good, that Regal had been given that robe or that cape by Prince Charles.
Prince Charles, right.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah, I know. Heenan was on top of his game here, man. He was really a lot of fun to work with at this time.
Kenny wants to know, how did WCW get into the Rosemont Horizon, which is now the Allstate Arena, and how did you wind up booking WCW shows at United Center circa 1997? Was there a trade with WWE that we don't know about then? I think the answer is no. You guys weren't doing anything friendly with them.
No.
But it feels like somebody had a hookup, whether it was a disgruntled employee, you guys were offering a better split. How do those deals come together? Is that a Gary Juster deal?
Gary Juster had a lot to do with it, but here's who had a lot to do with the United Center was Ric Flair's good friend, Bruce MacArthur.
Of
the Wirtz Corporation.
The
General, right.
Who was still a big deal there.
Right, who was part owner of the Blackhawks. And then once, of course, we started getting the United Center because we could sell it out.
Referee bump here accidentally, but he slides right back in, doesn't sell it. Normally when you take a spill like that to the outside, you're knocked unconscious.
Right.
All of a sudden here, Nick Patrick is a goddamn Superman, slides right back in.
I think it worked. And here's double chicken wing. This is how he won it last time. This is how he won it last time. This is how he won it. I think somebody told me that in my ear. So I'm screaming that now, right now. And this is how he won it last time in Chicago.
New Orleans. He retained in New Orleans.
Okay, and this is going to be the finish. 1, 2, 3. And now I like how Nick Patrick sells this. Does a real good job. See him standing there.
Like, wait a minute. They were both down. He's wiping the sweat away from his brow. Definitely calling for the bell. But now he's got his open palms like, I don't know. What is it?
Where my belt, motherfucker?
By the way, is this some of the best shape Flair's ever been in?
Yeah.
When he was in that chicken wing, you could count the abs. That's not normal for Flair.
No, it's not. Okay, now the discrepancy is, wait a minute, we're going to check with Nick Bockwinkel. Now we know there's a reason that dumbass.
So Randy Anderson, Nick Patrick, and Nick Bockwinkel. Are these the Three Stooges or what?
Yeah. we should have run Aaron Neville in there just to try to really fuck it up. Aaron said, I just want to be here, man. So now he's telling Nick Bockwinkel that both were pinned at the same time. I counted 3 and both were pinned. And Nick's saying, I have no idea what I want to say here. What am I supposed to say here? What? Just what's the fucking answer? What were the lines I was told backstage? I can't fucking remember them. Okay. Yeah, we'll raise his hand. Ric Flair is still the world champion. So, shitty finish, right?
Terrible finish.
Yeah, to a good match.
I feel like we should, and Steamboat here is upset and even pushing Nick Bockwinkel, which is something you don't normally see from Steamboat.
Right.
He's fired up, and not because Bonnie has told him he can't go out tonight.
That's right, which she probably did. And there, of course, during the midst of the heat and everything, we, as apropos, blow off the fireworks. Yeah. They're arguing in the ring. Let's bring up the fireworks. They're arguing. I don't care. Bring them up, motherfucker.
I don't understand why you guys did that shot between those two metal trusses. So that was like the go-to shot that night.
That's a Craig Leathers question. You ask him.
So there's that piece of shit belt that Dave Milliken owns.
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad of a belt, but it's not the big gold. And here's Tony Schiavone. Take it away.
Yeah, okay. I was told that we had some sort of double finish in the back. They wrote it down for me to make the announcement, but I forgot my paper in the back, and then I forgot my Prevagen, so I couldn't remember my name. So then I got in the ring, and I looked at Nick Patrick, and I said, what the fuck am I doing here? And Nick said, I don't know, you're the commissioner. I said, well, give me a fucking line to make me remember it. And Nick said, you were the AWA champion. I said, oh, yeah, that's right. And then all of a sudden the Prevagen kicked in, and I said, raise Ric Flair's hand. So now we're saying that you're a really dumb son of a bitch. Well, again, I was given the line. I left the paper in the back. Had I not left the paper in the back, I would have known on my line. I would know what to say. And I wasn't so sure even who was in the ring. All right. Thanks, Nick. We appreciate it. You've done a great job for a dumb, stupid son of a bitch. I just want to say that Prevagen does work. It's the stuff made in jellyfishes, you know. Oh, really? Okay, Henny, we'll talk to you in a minute. Would you quit tapping me? You're like my son. Nick, I'd just like to say that I don't have Prevagen, but I'm going to drink a fifth of vodka when this is all over with. Well, I know, Bobby, that's good with Prevagen as well. You know, that's got the ingredients in jellyfish. And old people remember shit now. I'm sure Larry Thompson would use it as well.
Larry Thompson, the Maitre D.
Maitre D
at
the
Snuggery in Chicago.
In Chicago. That's
Chicago.
Chicago. That's exactly right. All right. So now me and Heenan just kind of argue on the way out. And Heenan said, this was really, you need to go back and listen to this. Heenan was really good with this, arguing about, are we going to see it? Are we going to make a decision? Should I be in the on the committee now? It was really good. Heenan was doing his great work here.
James wants to know, would Tony consider this WCW's best overall pay-per-view, or does he think there's a better one?
Wow, that's a good question. I think there's a better one, although I don't know what it is. My Prevagen hasn't kicked in yet.
Wade wants to know.
It's got the ingredient in jellyfish. Yeah, okay.
Did Tony ever hit the town with the Nasty Boys?
Ooh, hell no. Good God. Those guys are fucking nuts.
Emmanuel wants to know, who had the hotter wife, Johnny B. Bad or DDP?
Ooh. That's a coin toss.
Well, flip it and let's call it.
It is DDP.
Gotta be.
He had the hottest wife.
Man.
Okay.
Roll Tide.
Okay.
Can we agree?
Go Dogs.
So here we are. You can't say that about girls, man. We gotta come up with a different thing for you.
Well, I ain't saying War fucking Eagle.
Well, what can you say?
Okay, I don't know.
How about Go Braves?
Okay, go Braves.
Go Stripers.
Hook 'em. Okay, so anything else?
No, I mean, we're done if you want to be done.
No, we're not. We're not done. I'm just looking. We're looking at the credits now and seeing some of the people that I liked and some of the.
There's
people
Ron Thompson who did video. He's the Maitre D at the Snuggery.
He sure is. There you see Jack and Crockett, one of the cameramen. Tim Snyder did the set. I knew Wes Benton, Rick Little, all those guys. Darwin was a good guy. Woody Kearse was a.
How does Bob Bressler get Breeze?
Bob Breeze. He was a worthless piece of shit. So they put him in there. Okay.
Why was he really a worthless piece of shit?
He was our librarian. He was fucking worthless.
Did you say librarian?
Librarian.
There's no R's in that shit? I feel like you just said librarian.
Okay. He ran our library.
I don't even know what you're saying right now. There's makeup, Annette Yother. So you're saying that the fucking makeup girl tried to take over the company?
Pretty soon, her name would be moved on up.
Senior consultant, Jim Barnett. We haven't heard your Jim Barnett impression in a while.
No, you won't. Legal Beagle, Gary Jester.
Legal Beagle? What type of name is that for a title?
They were fucking with Gary, that's all. Our next event, a Legends reunion. And that's Sunday, May 22nd in Philadelphia, and it's only on pay-per-view. Oh, I'm glad this thing's over. Whew.
I'm glad it's over, too, but I'm looking forward to next week where we're going to cover WCW Saturday Night from May 9th, 1992. Let me just tell you, I watched this show this week. You're not ready for what Tony and I are going to bring to you, and we're going to do it right here next week, only on the MLW Radio Network, WHWMonday.com. He is Tony Schiavone 24 on Twitter. I am at Hey It's Conrad. And Tony, I can't help but feel like when I look at my clock, it's about that time.
It's Cassio in the ring against Francine, one-on-one. My God, Danny Bonaducci's doing a run-in. He's got his pants down to his ankles. He bends over, gets kicked in the ass. Here comes Conrad. My God, Dick Bourne's in. It's a free-for-all. We're out of time. See you next week on WHW Monday on the MLW Radio Network.
SaveWithConrad.com.
Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois. My wife started the process with one of the big major corporations, and things were going very badly. And finally, I just stopped and said, hey, listen, I've been listening to the ads for years. Let's go with Save with Conrad and see what we can have happen. We were trying to free up a little space so we could spend down some debt and do some home improvements. We saved quite a bit, and in the long run, we're going to do a lot better with Save with Conrad than we would have anywhere else. It was absolutely beautiful. You know, like, Larry and Francis were they were the greatest. Not only were they professional and knew what they were talking about, they were friendly and they cared about the job they were doing, which was so important to me. I would absolutely recommend Save with Conrad to anybody. Hi, this is Mark Taggart from Rantoul, Illinois, and I wanted to do some home improvements and spend down a little debt, and I got hold of Save with Conrad, and we did incredibly.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender.
SaveWithConrad.com.